Goodrich. Poor guy, misguided in his football affinities. Council members, please indicate when you're ready.
I'm ready.
Very good. I'll call the meeting to order. Regular City Council meeting, February 7th, 2023. Please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Please be seated. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Miriam Abadamos.
Here.
Councilmember Mark Joseph.
I'm here.
David Orrell.
Here.
Vice Mayor Pierre Washington.
Here.
Mayor Leon Garcia.
Here. Thank you. We now move on to report on closed session, confirmation of reportable action.
Mayor, City Council members, members of the public, the council convened an open session at 5:30 p.m. to address the matters agendized for closed session consideration. You adjourned at 5:31 to closed session to do that after ascertaining there were no public comments on the matters agendized for closed session. Closed session concluded at 6:28 p.m. I will do a written report upon return from closed session consistent with the provisions of 5497.1B concerning those matters. That would conclude the report unless there are questions.
Any questions from council?
No.
Seeing none, hearing none. Thank you, Mr. Ross. Council, I would ask for a modification in our agenda this evening. We have the American Canyon High School Choir here on a matter related to, very important to us, all of us. See, we have Councilmember Orrell and Councilmember Washington participating here.
Yeah,
We know some odd colors this evening. Very unfamiliar in this Bay Area.
thank you, Mr. Mayor. As we know, the Super Bowl is this Sunday, and thank you for the time to just go out of order here a little bit. But Vice Mayor Washington and I did a friendly bet. He is from Philadelphia, and as we all know, Philadelphia played the San Francisco 49ers last Sunday, and we made a friendly bet to say that, whoever won that game, you'd have to wear the other team's jersey. I would have loved to see Vice Mayor Washington here in red, not me in green, but I am honoring this bet. Another part of this bet is that we both said we would donate to our favorite charity in town, whoever the winning team was, and Vice Mayor Washington chose the American Canyon Choir, and so we want to just present those checks today to Mr. Butler, who is here to. Butler.
Oh, and Mr. Butler's not an Eagle fan, by the way. I just want to make sure. But he's
he'll take the
benefiting
money.
from Fly Eagles Fly.
It hurts, but my check says go Niners.
I'd much rather be watching my team in the bowl this Sunday, but this helps ease the pain for the students. So, so thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. Should we come out front?
Yeah.
We want to get the whole outfit.
I'll just photo bomb in the background. I wish I had a Go Niners hat. Anybody can help out? All right. Oh,
You green don't look good on me, dude.
Okay, we'll still wear red on game day. Anything but the Eagles.
well, thank you both. That does help ease the pain a bit. But everyone here really knows who the best team is. Can't help but have an off day every now and then. Okay, moving on to our agenda, we're on to proclamations and presentations. It's indeed an honor and a great pleasure this evening
to recognize Black History Month with a city proclamation. City of American Canyon Proclamation recognizing February 2023 as Black History Month. Whereas in 1915, Dr. Carter Goodwin Woodson, noted black scholar and son of former slaves, founded the Association for the Study of Negro Life and History, which later renamed as the Association for the Study of African American Life and History, ASALH. And whereas Dr. Woodson initiated Black History Week, February 12, 1926, for many years the second week of February, chosen so as to coincide with birthdays of Frederick Douglass and Abraham Lincoln, was celebrated by African Americans in the United States. And whereas in 1976, as part of the National Bicentennial, Black History Week was expanded and became established as Black History Month. It is now celebrated all over the world. And whereas we pay tribute to the heroes sung and unsung of African American history, recalling the inner strengths that sustained millions in bondage. We remember the courage that led activists to defy lynch mobs and register their neighbors to vote. We carry forward the unyielding hope that guided a movement as it bent the arc of the moral universe toward justice. Even while we seek to dull the scars of slavery and legalized discrimination, we hold fast to values gained through centuries of trial and suffering. Whereas every American can draw strength from the story on hard-won progress, which not only defines the African American experience, but also lies at the heart of our nation as a whole. This story affirms that freedom is a gift from God, but it must be secured by his people here on earth. It inspires a new generation of leaders. It teaches us all that when we come together in common purpose, we can right the wrongs of history and make our world anew. And whereas Black History Month reminds us to continue to fight for justice and equality, and should be a uniting call for our nation, continue to work for a more diverse, supportive, inclusive, and protective union. And now, therefore, be it resolved that I, Leon Garcia, Mayor, City of American Canyon, on behalf of the American Canyon City Council, do hereby proclaim February 2023 as Black History Month and call upon public officials, educators, librarians, and encourage residents of American Canyon community to observe this month with appropriate programs, ceremonies, and activities. Thank you all. I think we have Brenda Knight receiving the proclamation. Please come forward. Well, Brenda, so many of us have known you for so many years in your active role in the community, in the African American community. And it's just very much valued what you do. You bring a lot to American Canyon.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you so much. And to the mayor and all the city council members, vice mayor, I would like to just say I am so honored to come and receive on behalf of our African American community this proclamation for this month. And what I am so honored about is to be a community member and advocate and representative of American Canyon, because we are so supportive. Our community is so diverse, and we include everyone. And if an idea comes up, the support is always there. And so we look forward to things in the future, because as long as I have breath in my body, I want to make sure that we continue to show our history and educate those beyond those two that they may know. I want to start doing things that we can really come together during Black History Month, where we start learning about one another. And this month I had hoped to do it, but as you all, well, the majority of you know, my mom is now ill, and it had to make me stop and take care of home first. But we look forward to doing more Black history information, activities, and events in the years to come. So thank you, Council. Thank you, American Canyon. And you know I love my community, and I plan to be here a very long time. And when I'm old, I hope that there's a place for me to move into so I can be here forever. So thank you.
Thank you, Brenda Knight.
I have to say, I do have to leave because I have someone sitting with my mom, and I told them I would not be long tonight.
Okay.
And so, but you will be seeing more of me in the years, well, the months to come, especially June.
We look forward to a great
Yes.
Juneteenth celebration.
Oh,
again.
yes, I'm ready.
All right.
Thank
Very good.
you.
Thank you, Brenda. We'll all go up front.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Council. We'll now proceed with our agenda. We now have a time for public comments on items not on the agenda. Anybody from the public wishing to address the council? Item not on the agenda. I will keep your comments to 3 minutes, please. Good evening, welcome.
Hello, my name is Alma Gonzalez, and on behalf of the American Canyon High School Academic Decathlon Club, I would like to thank some of our council members here present, Mr. Mark Joseph and Mr. David Oro, for helping us prepare for our academic decathlon competition that we just had 2 weeks ago. I have some team members here if they want to come up, and I would like to tell the City of American Canyon that we scored 5th place in our academic decathlon competition out of 17 teams, and we'll be representing Napa County at the academic decathlon competition in March as our county representatives. So thank you so much for your help and support. If anybody else wants to help, please contact me at A.R. Gonzalez, but that's beside the point. So we were able to win 5 medals. We had 3 medals, 1 in speech, 1 in interview, 1 in social science, 2 in interview actually, and then 1 overall. So thank you so much for your support. We wanted to come and say thank you in person, and yeah, thanks.
Thank you. Thank you. Congratulations on your achievement. In the
Thank
past,
you.
I've been able to work with you on that, but yeah.
Wait, before you go, I have a question.
Go for it.
Are we the only school in the county that placed?
Yeah.
Yay.
Mr.
I always say that we have the best kids here.
Yeah.
Mr. Mayor, if I may add a little, Alma, thank you for inviting us. It was a real pleasure. For me, it was really personal too, because I did a speech debate contest once in high school, and you guys did far better than me. I'll give you the speech that I gave. It was a speech that I had to study a topic, and then I had a minute to write about it, and it was about gun laws. And I went up in front of 3 judges and said, George Bush is an avid hunter. And then I walked out the room. So I know how hard it is, so congratulations to you. You guys did really well. So
Thank you very much. We appreciate your support.
Thank you.
And I'd just like to say, I actually spent more time in public speaking than one-liner. So I really did appreciate the speakers and all the effort they put into it, and I was happy to help and will be happy to help again. Just hit me up. Thank you.
Will do. Thank you.
Anybody else for public comment? Items not on the agenda?
Do they want a picture with Mark and David?
Oh, yeah.
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 I know they worked hard.
Yeah, there you go. Right, yeah.
Your photo's gonna get everywhere.
I know. My jersey's getting some picture time.
Oh, sure, yeah. Thank you.
So you need to turn off the virtual background.
None. Thank you.
All right, American Canyon High School, you rock. Way to go. Any other members of the public wanting to speak on an item not on the agenda? Please come forward. Yes, ma'am.
Speaker cards.
Hi, my name is Bridget Toes. I reside on 20 Corvina Way in American Canyon, California. Safety is number one because I'm senior disabled. We don't have any public street lights working, and it's pitch black on our block. If you guys can help us, I'm not the only senior disabled live over there, and I know other neighbors has been saying something about it. Can you guys help us, please?
Okay.
And also the gate, the arm that's broke out there, can you guys help us? We don't have a home association. And if we have to pay for lights, I'll be willing to help pay for those lights so we can have lights.
Thank you. I'm going to direct comments to Mr. Hawley. Will you look into it, please? You have your contact information available, then they'll be in touch.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Can we let her know, we did, at one of our previous council meetings, we did decide to put it on as a future agenda item so that we can start enforcing items on that street so that we can maintain it, because right now it's considered a private road, so we don't have jurisdiction. I don't know if you can explain that a little bit more, Jason?
Happy to, Councilmember. In short, Corvina Way and the Vineyard Place, I believe it is, subdivision, is private property, and there was at one point some sort of a homeowners association. It seems to not be in existence anymore. We know there's some issues with streetlights, the gate, all of those private facilities. There's some issues there. So the council's asked for a future agenda item to go and evaluate that situation. There's a lot of due diligence that we need to do on the staff side first to be able to evaluate that. We've been in contact with some other residents as well. So I think we do have your contact information, Bridget, and we'll be in touch with you.
And can I also add one more thing? Maintenance, keeping it clean. I normally go down there and try to clean much as I can to try to keep our neighborhood looking nice. But going out of our lot, it's really bad. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Good evening, Mayor, Council, and staff.
Good evening.
Kenneth Leary, American Canyon. I have three things, and I'll be quick. I want to congratulate the decathlon academic. I used to volunteer with him many, many years, and I still see some familiar faces there. I've been traveling a lot, so every time you guys are doing something, I'm out of town. Anyways, first that's the first thing. The second thing I wanted to talk about and speak on is it's a hard subject to broach. I travel a lot, go a lot of places. The last town I was in was Avon, Colorado, another tourist town. And when I look at the amount of money that goes into public facilities and public right-of-ways and trails and libraries and all these things, and then I come back here to Napa, which is the #1 tourist destination almost in this country, and most of that money doesn't come back into the community. Very little of it comes back. And I would like to work with you or anyone to figure out how we can get some more of these tourist dollars to come back in. How long have we been working on this trail to go to Napa? You can go from Breckenridge to Aspen on a trail. Can't do that here. So I'd like to see some more of that happen. And the last thing I was going to talk about, now it skips my mind because I'm older, but I put my notes down there, so let me get it. Oh, how could I forget that? March 4th is the Kiwanis Crab Feed.
Yes.
That's 3.5 weeks away. And you want to go online, get your tickets now, because it always sells out. But it's Saturday, March 4th, and if any of the key clubbers well, I'll speak with them tomorrow. They'll be there to help out and serve and do all of that. It's the longest running crab feed in American Canyon, and by far one of the best. So y'all get your tickets, and I will see you there. Thank you very much, and good evening.
Thank you.
Go Eagles.
Good evening, Council, Mayor. First thing I'd like to say is I love our town. I love to see small town rivalry and being able to laugh and have a good time and not, well, some of us are laughing, the other ones aren't. But anyway, I just want to say I'm glad to see that in our town. Second thing is I'd like to thank the American Canyon Fire and our EMS. I dislocated my shoulder the other day, about a week ago. They came out and took very good care of me and got me to the hospital. And I think we have, as a retired firefighter, I think our fire department is managed very well. So I wanted to put that out there. The last thing I'd like to bring about is the last meeting, Jason Hawley mentioned about, we had a discussion on Measure J and LAFCO, and I understood that Councilman Washington had got some information, had done some research, and I was sort of at a loss when he told me that LAFCO only dealt with the utilities part of their function. I've been here since '98. I was part of helping get our town center again. Fran, we were on that. I distinctly remember having to go to LAFCO first, because my understanding is LAFCO is used to make sure that land is not agriculturally viable in order to put commercial property on it. And I remember us talking to the Jaegers, and I actually spoke at LAFCO with the Jaegers to inform them that LAFCO, that vineyard was more decorative. My children, Dakota and Estrella, spoke at LAFCO to get the 4-H, because that was considered farmland or agricultural, and it had to be approved through LAFCO prior to coming to us. And so I'm sort of a loss. I know that the developer for Measure J had gone to LAFCO, and my understanding was that he didn't get the votes he needed. And so I'm just sort of at a loss at that definition. And if you can, or would like to talk to me about how that definition, because my definition of what LAFCO meant and what you said LAFCO did were totally two different. I mean, and they could be the same. I'm not, but I was always understanding that LAFCO was to make sure agricultural land was not developed unless it was not viable, in so many words. Am I correct in that?
Yeah, Hugh, Mr. Marquez, well, my suggestion would be, we have a LAFCO expert sitting here in the form of our city attorney. I think we could take some time offline and have either the three of us or have you sit with Bill, and he can explain the history and purpose of LAFCO. It's pretty complicated.
I am sure it is, and I mean, I don't know a little portion of it. I know what I did with LAFCO to help our city grow, and I know I have sort of understanding of the Measure J thing. I mean, I was pretty anti, and because of certain things, I think our city should fight for a little bit more. I think we should be trying to get more from these developers. I'm all for getting as much as we can. Anyway, thank you. I appreciate all you've done.
We'll be in touch. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. Is there another speaker from the audience?
Okay. Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, and City Council members. My name is William Baker. I have 2 items regarding the Broadway project I would like to bring to your attention this evening. Firstly, I thank you, Mayor Garcia, for proposing the Broadway project town meeting at the January 17th City Council meeting. I was pleased this proposition was met with unanimous approval by the council. In preparation for the town meeting, I made a next door question asking who would attend the town meeting. Unscientific as it is, so far I have over 84% positive responses to my question, if they would be attending or not. I feel this is a good level of positive response. My second item will illustrate that the sooner this town meeting occurs, the better. The second item I would like to bring up is my email report to you on January 26 regarding the Berkeley Home Center, where the tragic news of a 14-year-old girl was reportedly raped. Like the Broadway project, the Berkeley Home Center is an apartment building intended as permanent supportive housing for the chronically homeless. The project only opened in October last year. This tragedy was discovered only after the police were called to break up a knife fight at the entrance of the Berkeley Hope Center at 12:30 a.m. on a Saturday morning. The Broadway project will have only 1 staff at the property at that time on the weekend. Which of our council members will be allowing their 14-year-old child or grandchild to visit the Veterans Memorial Park if the Broadway project remains where it is? I can only ask you that please understand this type of tragedy is destined to occur next door to our major public park. The location is unacceptable. It needs to relocate. Mayor Garcia and council members, a tragedy like what happened at the Berkeley Hope Center cannot happen next to our Veterans Memorial Park. This project must move. As a third point that just came in, I attended the Solano supervisor meeting this morning. Part of the agenda was to ask, the city of Vallejo was asking for $10 million for two projects, one being the Broadway project. The result of the meeting was that this request was not approved. Thank you.
Thank you.
Very ugly news item.
Thank you, sir.
Hello, Mayor, City Council. I also wanted to address the Broadway project. My name is Brian Olson. Lived here for 10 years. I live on Eisenhower Court, which is right above the Veterans Park in Montevideo. And I wanted to, for the last 28 years, I've worked for the California Department of Corrections. I work at headquarters now in Sacramento. And this is the exact type of housing that is targeted for parolees. It's a HUD program, and you'll hear a lot of misnomers about they don't rent to felons, they don't give vouchers to felons, they don't give vouchers to sex offenders, yet they do. So federally, if you're a lifetime registrant as a sex offender, that precludes you from HUD housing and also manufacturing methamphetamines. Those are the only two things that can keep you away from a voucher. In 2021, your Sacramento legislatures changed the sexual offender registration requirements through Senate Bill 384 and 145. There is no longer a lifetime sex registrant in the state of California. There's 3 tiers, and it's a tiered system. Now, there are several ways that you can get a lifetime registration requirement only for the most egregious, most violent cases of sex offenses between adults and at the age of 10 and under. Almost any other kind of sexual deviance goes into the tiered system, so they will not be lifetime registrants. And I'll tell you right now, from working for a place for the last 28 years, these people are homeless. They're getting out of prison. They have families that no longer care for them and communities that don't want them. So they're gonna go a place like that, which is right next to a park, 30 square miles of Vallejo, and they put it in the last 100 yards of their town right next to ours, because our police are gonna respond over there, our fire department's gonna respond over there, and our kids are gonna be over there. And that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments, sir. Anybody else from the attending want to speak to the council? Item not on the agenda.
Fran Lemus. I'd just like to say that Highway 29, again, there's a couple of rough spots, and maybe if the city contacted Caltrans, they could clean those up, because one's right over here by Rancho Del Mar and the next stoplight, and it's really bumpy. So I'd like to see that. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else attending the meeting? If not, we'll go to, do we have people online?
Yes, Tammy Wong.
Okay. Good evening.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I just wanted to give a shout out to our wonderful city staff. As you know, I volunteer with others to help our community cats. These are our feral cats and the lost and abandoned friendly cats that are no longer housed at the shelter. We had an idea to hold a workshop about humane trap, neuter, and return to promote spay and neuter to break the cycle of homelessness for cats. We had this idea to partner with the city and do it. And I want to tell you that from inception all the way to having the class on Saturday, working with the assistant city manager, Maria Ojeda, and then also it's spanned the Parks and Rec, your communications team. Everybody was great to work with, and I got a little smile every time I saw it come out in our city manager's newsletter, because they did a fantastic job in the promotion. So I just want to give a shout out to everyone and to let you know how well they did. Although I'm sure you probably read the newsletter as well, and you saw it being promoted there. So there's one more workshop this Saturday about fostering, and then there will be another set of classes in the fall. It's just wonderful to have our city work with us so that we can create awareness and educate our neighbors on how they can help cats as well. Thank you again.
Thank you. I had an opportunity to attend that. It was a very informative gathering. Anybody else in the queue?
No more. That's it. Thank you.
Okay, that's it. Okay, thank you. We'll move on with our agenda now. We're looking at agenda changes. We have a consent calendar. The item council wants to discuss.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I'd like to pull item item 11, Melvin Road. Thank you.
Okay. Any other items to be pulled? If not, I will entertain a motion to accept the consent calendar absent item 11.
So moved.
I'll second.
Motion second. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Abadamos?
Yes.
Joseph?
Yes.
Oro?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Washington?
Yes.
Mayor Garcia?
Yes. We'll take up item 11 now. It's design of the Melvin Road Sidewalk and Drainage Project, DR 24-0200.
Mr. Oh, go ahead.
Good evening, Public Works Director Eric Rahman-Smithies here. I believe the question this evening, unless you want to ask me the question first of the project.
Yes, mine really related to the scope of the project. I think Melvin Road, okay, you do the road and the sidewalks and whips around Wilson and then dead ends there at James and Wilson. And my suggestion is that we should continue it on James from Wilson all the way up to Donaldson, so that it then ties into the new sidewalk and road rebuild that we just finished. Because if we don't, there will be people asking the very reasonable question, why didn't you fix the gap in the middle? So I'm asking that we modify the scope to include that, and I recognize that isn't something you can do for free, and so we might need to have a discussion about how do we pay for that.
We're actually okay. Sorry, I interrupted there. We're actually okay. We spoke, thank you for the timely submission of the question. It was already in our minds, after we put the scope out there and we approved the project, there was that small gap for the members of the audience and the community. There's a small gap in the corner of Donaldson and James on the east side. So we were already thinking as staff going, well, maybe we could just get it in a change order and get it done. But we've already reached out to the consultant. They already planned to survey all the way down to Donaldson on James for the storm drainage connections. So the survey is already included, and we're talking 50 to 75 feet of sidewalk and an extra driveway. Not an issue, no extra charge. We're going to have them revise the scope of work with no costs, and we'll get that in the final agreement should you approve the contract tonight. And the designer in question is Coastland. They've been a long time provider for the city of American Canyon. In addition to that, I believe there's a schedule question that was not included there. That was my miss, but we have that now. If they can start within the next 2 weeks, we're likely going to be out to bid by October. There'll be a check-in with the neighborhood around June with probably draft design and hopefully no right-of-way issues. There's been concerns about a couple of sections, but we hopefully not insurmountable. We can move forward.
That would be great. I appreciate it.
Thank you. It's been a concern of mine. I've mentioned it council meeting several times. We need a safe route to school for kids.
Correct.
And, of course, if you want to go to Safeway, you can walk and get your groceries, or Starbucks for your coffee as well. But I really appreciate this coming forward. I recognize that there's certain challenges there. If we drive by those properties on that street, you can see it. So all the best in terms of getting it done. Thank you. With that, Councilmember Oro.
Yeah, just so I have clarity on this, though, that's a sidewalk all the way from American Canyon Road, James, all the way past the fire station to, I believe that's Wilson Way.
Mm-hmm.
Take a right, there's a sidewalk there, and then all the way down to Casiara, which is the end of Melvin, correct?
Correct.
So continuity all the way through.
There will be continuity with the completion of the project, yes. We're not starting the project from American Canyon Road, but we'll have the continuity all the way through, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions?
That's good news.
What direction would council want to take on this?
Well, if no one else has any questions, and if the public doesn't jump up to ask, I will make a motion to approve resolution number 2023 next in order, a resolution of the City Council of the City of American Canyon authorizing the city manager to enter into an agreement with Coastland for the Melvin Road Sidewalk and Drainage Project TR 24-0200 for an amount not to exceed $137,442 with the revised scope as discussed.
I'll second.
Motion second. Just formally asking anybody from the public wishing to comment on this? Anybody online?
Councilmember Miriam Abadamos?
Yes.
Councilmember Mark Joseph?
Yes.
Councilmember David Oro?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Pierre Washington?
Yes.
Mayor Leon Garcia?
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Moving on to our agenda, we have public hearing this evening of item 14.
Mr. Mayor, sorry to interrupt. I did turn on my light. I do have a question. I know that we've already passed agenda changes, but seeing this many people in the audience, I feel like there's an issue they're here for. So I was wondering if we can move it. Am I safe to assume that you guys are here for the skate park? Or just observing? Okay. Yeah, I think that's the same item.
Yeah.
So can we move that to be the next item, and then we'll go on to our public hearing? if council is agreeable.
Council agreeable to that?
Generally, I thought the public hearing would be quick.
It shouldn't take very long, no, and this is actually a continued public hearing. We have consultants from CSCDA
All right.
and everything in the audience on Zoom. This,
Okay.
not to devalue the value of the conversation for the public hearing, but it is not a particularly long conversation.
All right,
It's
well-
up to the council. It would be an agenda change, so would take a motion and a vote to do that.
I'm hoping we can get it done in less than 10 minutes and just keep the regular meeting.
Yeah.
So.
And my only concerns I addressed with the city manager, so I'm not even going to raise any issues, so.
Well, then we're good. It'll be quick.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
We'll move on with the public hearing. Confirm participation in the statewide community infrastructure program. SCIP recommended adopt an amended restated resolution to confirm participation in the California Statewide Communities Development Authority, CSCDA, Statewide Community Infrastructure Program.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. This item relates to land-based financing opportunities that are available to the city. We participate in what's known as the California Statewide Community Development Authority. It's a JPA statewide. CSCDA is the acronym. One of CSCDA's programs is known as the Statewide Community Infrastructure Program, or the SCIP. And the city joined CSCDA and started participating in the SCIP back in 2007. Staff is recommending that we kind of renew our participation in this program because it allows us to take advantage of opportunities by experts in the field. And in consulting with CSCDA, they noted that our 2007 resolution was a little bit antiquated, and it didn't expressly identify community facility districts, what they're authorized under the Mello-Roos Act, as potential land-based financing programs. And so they thought 15 years old resolution, having a new one would be good for the records, and then adding specifically CFDs as one particular tool was what we're interested in using the program for most currently. So it's not a new program. We already participate in it. It's just another tool in our tool chest for this land-based financing. So if there are any questions about the resolution or the example reimbursement agreements, happy to answer them. I'll just note this particular item is related to the Watson Ranch project. It's being put forward because there will be some land-based financing that occurs because of Watson Ranch, but this particular item doesn't change the development agreement or any of the provisions of the development agreement or any of the financing or anything other than that. This is just allowing us to participate in a statewide program for one of those tools. Happy to answer any questions.
Any questions?
We do have both James Hamill and Terry McGrath on Zoom if there are any questions the council or the public has of the developer or the financing authority.
I think the intent is very clear to me and beneficial to the city. Other comment from council? Okay, we will open up the public hearing on this matter. Anybody from the public wishing to comment? Do we have anybody online?
Terry McGrath had his hand raised. Oh, there you go. He's back.
Very good.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council members.
Good evening. Welcome.
Thank you for taking on this issue this evening. I just wanted to add a couple of things to what City Manager Jason Hawley just articulated. The SCIP is sort of there's two key pieces to it. One is the CFD piece, which obviously we're already using in Watson Ranch for the residential piece of the project. And then the SCIP that the city put into play in 2007 is really a citywide program that is, it's more of a pooled project, whereas the CFD for Watson Ranch residential is a standalone community facilities district, separate bond, et cetera. The SCIP is a pooled project that they put into play a couple of times a year. And typically it's for project financing of, $500,000 to up to $35 million. And as it relates specifically to Watson Ranch, where it potentially comes into play is land-based financing, construction financing for the hotel and rooms. And where it's a smaller project. And to give you some idea of scale, we've already spent in the past 18 months, if you look at our whole master backbone infrastructure project for Watson Ranch, obviously there's infrastructure within the master backbone infrastructure that ultimately serves specifically the hotel and ruins and gardens, because there's a percentage of all the utilities that will benefit the ruins and hotel. So as a simple number, we've already spent approximately $5 million for the hotel and the ruins piece of the infrastructure of the whole project. So it does benefit potentially specifically coming and using the skip at a later date for the hotel and ruins, but more importantly, it allows the entire pool to be available to any project within the city of American Canyon. So thanks again for considering it.
Thank you. Any other speakers online?
No further speakers.
Okay, very good. Anybody from the public last chance to speak on this matter? Seeing none, public comment is closed. We'll return to council for further discussion. Desired action.
I'll take the long one. I know. If there's no further comment, we're adopting a resolution tonight, correct?
Correct.
I'll make a motion to adopt resolution number 2023-13, an amended and restated resolution of the City Council of the City of American Canyon authorizing the city to join the statewide community infrastructure program, authorizing the California Statewide Communities Development Authority to accept applications from property owners, conduct special assessment proceedings, and levy assessments and special taxes and to form assessment districts and community facility districts within the territory of the City of American Canyon, embodying a joint community facilities agreement, setting forth the terms and conditions of the community facilities district financings, approving form of acquisition agreement for use when applicable, and authorizing related actions.
I'll second that.
Motion and a second. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Abadamos?
Yes.
Councilmember Joseph?
Yes.
Councilmember Oro?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Washington?
Yes.
Mayor Garcia?
Yes. Thank you, council. Moving on now with business. Item 15, skate park relocation and upgrades to former Napa Junction School and various parks. The work today includes 2 resolutions and a minute order. Staff report.
Yes, thank you, Mayor and Council. This item tonight is a little bit complicated, and it's really the compilation of a couple of projects and a couple of efforts that have been proceeding forward on separate paths that are now kind of crossing paths tonight. And we wanted to bring all of this information forward to the council. A couple of these efforts we're recommending to move approval tonight, and one of the efforts we're recommending to hold off until March when we convene for a budget workshop for the next fiscal year. And I'll get into the reasons why here in a moment. Back when we completed the land exchange with the school district, where we gave up our partial interest in the former community center middle school gym and acquired the former Napa Junction School, we knew that that transaction was going to have a domino effect on some other aspects and some other facilities. For example, the skate park. As part of that transaction, the skate park, it was to move away. And also becoming owner now of the former Napa Junction School, we knew there was some upkeep and some maintenance and some repurposing that was going to be needed there. At the same time, the city has been proceeding forward with a project to replace some of the playground equipment at a couple of city parks throughout the city. And we came to council in November with an action to move forward with that project. And that equipment has been ordered. We expect it to arrive in May or June timeframe, and this summer is when we expect to be replacing that playground equipment. But back in November, as a part of that discussion, the council was interested in some additional amenities at those parks, and we had a conversation about adding bathrooms, adding shade structures, and adding a different playground surface over at the Via Bellagio Park specifically. And so we didn't have all the information at that moment in time in November. The council agreed to move forward with the playground replacement, but wanted to bring back the other information and those other items also. So that's what we're doing tonight. skateboard park relocation, the council has already approved the relocation of the existing equipment over to a new location. That location, we first reviewed that with the Parks and Community Services Commission, and that new location will be over in Veterans Park, kind of north of the bocce courts, kind of along an upland area near the creek. And the council has approved an appropriation and it created a capital project to move that equipment, the existing equipment, from behind the middle school over to this location. And as we were starting to scope that project, one of the things that we did was to have the vendor manufacturer actually come and inspect the existing equipment to make sure that it was in good enough condition to move. And for the most part, many of the pieces are. There's a couple that aren't, but we'll get into that in a moment. But for the most part, what we want to reuse is reusable. As we were having that conversation with them, we also wanted to think a little bit bigger. We wanted to inquire and try and propose something that might be better, more memorable, and more noteworthy. The equipment that's out there is fine, but it's also not necessarily as noteworthy or as create as memorable of an experience for skateboarding or skating in particular. So typically, you'll see those elements made out of concrete with different bowls or different features as opposed to just above ground metal features, which is what is existing today. So we worked with the vendor and designer to come up with an additional option, and this is what we call option 2, and it shows up in your council packet starting on page which page is it? Starting on page I think it's page 132, and we created this more enhanced skate park feature. It includes a concrete bowl, raised more skating areas, and still reuses some of those features. And we wanted to do that because we felt like moving that to this location, the idea was to create a more permanent location. When the facility was built behind the middle school, it was always a temporary location. It was fenced in, it was above ground in metal, it was known to be a temporary location. And we wanted to say, well, what would a permanent location look like? What would those additional features look like? So starting on page 132 of the packet are some renderings of what those would look like. This is quite a bit of a different product and quite of a different facility than what was originally contemplated, and that explains the additional cost. And the cost is close to double what the cost to just move those pieces over. But we felt like this was an opportunity to really create a really noteworthy feature for particularly the kids and young adults in American Canyon. Further on that, the city still has about $500,000 in federal funding from the American Rescue Plan Act. And we went through a big series of appropriations a year ago and have done a lot of improvements either already or have a lot of improvements planned citywide. The Melvin Road project, for example, was one of those. We did some recent striping and signing over in the Vintage Ranch area for creating bicycle trails. We have a major project for utilities and roads in the Rancho Del Mar area also programmed. We felt like the ARPA funding for this kind of a project would really be kind of a cherry on top, a real high note to kind of celebrate the way that we're using these ARPA funds citywide in a real celebratory way. We felt like it would give the opportunity for the community to celebrate with us in the use of these funds. So that's why we felt like it would be appropriate. There'll still be a balance of about $188,000 left over if the council does choose to move forward with this option. And there'll still be a little bit of that ARPA money available for our conversation at the budget workshop. As it relates to the Napa Junction School, we knew all along going into that transaction that there was going to be upgrades needed. And one of the ideas about taking that particular property is to kind of make it into two uses now, to utilize all of the existing structures to the extent that we can to repurpose them, and to create kind of two halves, with the western half being repurposed as a kind of a corporation maintenance yard with areas for vehicles, staff with some offices, storage of materials, and that sort of thing, to have a permanent presence there. And then the eastern half, utilizing the existing classroom wings, the multipurpose room, et cetera, fixing the vandalism, changing the locks, painting, spiffing up the site, and then making that eastern half available to the public for rental. We think there's a pretty high demand for rental of the multi-purpose room. We would make some upgrades to the kitchen area, so we'd have a cold prep kitchen area. But then also we have ideas around summer camp programming being offered there, and different classes and different rentals of the rooms, as that might be possible. And in fact, the front wing, the very southern wing that actually fronts the parking lot, has access to the outside and access to the parking lot. And we feel like there's some opportunity to engage our community groups who may have their own needs for storage or for different purposes. And because it accesses that parking lot directly, through a lease agreement, we could give them the keys to their little space, and they would be able to go in and out without having to have the city have a presence there, and so forth. So the idea is that southern wing could actually be available for community groups for storage. I know the food pantry has an interest, and some other groups have an interest. We think that property kind of sets up real nicely for that piece. All along, we knew that there was going to have to be some sort of investment, and we've gotten some quotes from vendors, and some of this will evolve as we do some of these pieces. But we felt like using the general fund capital reserve actually made sense here. We have $2 million now in our general fund capital reserve. The purpose of that is for capital projects that the council chooses to spend it on. And in this case, this is a property we just came to acquire, but clearly has some deferred maintenance needs. And we felt like, in this case, using that capital reserve to spruce this building back up and turn it into an amenity, but the back of the house for the maintenance side and the front of the house for the community side would be the appropriate use of those capital reserves. So that was the thinking there. The amount of $700,000 would be budgeted through this new project to accomplish improvements on both sides. And lastly, we wanted to really remember and honor the conversation that we had in November about these other park locations with the bathrooms, the shade canopies, and so forth, and to not forget about that conversation. We felt like bringing those first two items tonight and not saying anything about the November conversation would lead to questions from the council. What about the other things that we talked about? So what we're saying essentially in recommendation number 3 is to say, we know there are other needs too, beyond just what the council identified in November, and we think a budget workshop in March would be a good time to take the discussion from November and to bring in some other pieces that we know about and to create, essentially work on our capital budget for the next fiscal year. And we would do that in March. We didn't want to just be silent on that. The council had expressed interest, community members had expressed interest, and we didn't want to be silent on that, but staff isn't proposing to take action on that now without further evaluating different funding sources and further needs that may be out there. And in particular, ideas about a restroom at Silver Oak Park and the different playground surface at Via Bellagio Park. We want to have a conversation about the funding source for that, because both of those are LAD amenities, and we need to have a conversation about whether LAD funding should be the funding source for that or some other funding source. So all that would be a really, really complicated conversation for tonight, and we weren't prepared to bring all of those possibilities. We think that's better for a workshop.
Okay, thank you.
That's all I have tonight, but I know there are members of the public who also have some comments, and I'm certainly happy to entertain questions from council.
Council have comments? Or you want to take public comment at this time?
I'm okay with taking public comment at this time. I actually would welcome it. But I was just wondering, is it a possibility to get on screen for people in the audience who don't have the packet to see some of the options in the skate park? Can we make those readily available on the laptop and presentation at all in any way?
I'm looking over to our clerk tonight. It would be starting at kind of page 130 of the packet. I don't know if we're able to pull those up or not.
And then I just have a clarifying question, and that is on the park upgrades, we're still proceeding with the park upgrades that we authorized. We're just not proceeding with the enhancements like the bathrooms, the covered picnic area. And in the case of the Lavigne Park, I forget the specific, that was with wood fiber or whatever. So tentatively, we're moving ahead with all those options or all those things that have been adopted, but we're not talking about upgrades or swap outs.
Correct. So the playground equipment has already been ordered. So the replacements have already been ordered. When we talked in November, we said we should do this now because they're a long lead item, and we ordered them in late November, and they're due to arrive in May or June. Like, that's how long of a lead time they are. So that's been ordered, that's underway. If the council does nothing with those extra things, that will still happen. As it relates specifically to Via Bellagio and the options for the surface, the playground surface, that actually doesn't matter meaning the timing of it doesn't matter. I was curious as to, is there a timing issue? You replace equipment, can you still replace the surface later? And the answer is yes. The surface actually is kind of like a carpet. It actually goes in last. So, we have the opportunity to replace the equipment and then make a decision on whether it's wood chips or playground surface, and it's independent of that activity.
Okay, great. So to write on his clarification point, those parks are being improved. You're recommending now to just kind of, if we want a cherry on top with some whipped cream, let's talk about that later.
In March, correct.
Right, okay.
Councilmember Albadamos?
I just want to clarify, though, for purposes of this conversation, are we talking about potentially competing funding sources? So if we approve this double the cost, extra, like, beautiful skate park, does that put us in jeopardy of getting a canopy at, like, Northampton?
It would, yes, Councilmember Albadamos. The ARPA funding is there's pretty wide range of what it could be used for. So yes, to answer your question, the council could choose not to proceed with the additional cost for the skate park, and then retain that money in the ARPA funds, and then roll that into the conversation for additional canopies and restrooms and that sort of thing. Correct.
Or make a decision with only part of the information, basically. Because we were looking for, so those other 3 items, if I remember correctly, one of the issues was we needed to find out how much they cost and see if we could afford it. But now we're talking about spending this much money on a skate park, which could potentially eliminate those other 3 things that we requested.
It is the funding source that's proposed under resolution number 1. The ARPA funds could be used for those other things if the council chooses not to move forward with this item tonight. And the same goes actually for the general fund capital reserve as well. So, so yes, and that's why I started the conversation with saying we had these 2 independent tracks. This land exchange we knew was going to have these dominoes fall. So, the council could decide not to take either of these actions, and then we could save up all of that and have a conversation in March with essentially a larger pot to choose from.
Okay.
Correct.
Thank you.
Well, I look forward to the public comment on this. I think there's an opportunity here to see what's people who engage in skateboards activity, competition. Certainly there's space, I think, here for any design changes. Could be something that we arrive at that at different phases. But public comment is now open. Please come to the podium. I have 2 cards. I have a Kim McDonald. Kim McDonald?
Yes, Michelle Marin.
Kim McDonald, sorry.
I'm sorry?
Kim McDonald has a card already. We'll get to you, ma'am. Sure.
Oh.
It's all right.
Hello.
Good evening.
Most of you know I'm here in favor of option 2 for the skate park. I hate that it would take away from other parks, but it is important. I mean, there's not a whole lot to do in our city for the young adults. So this option 2, it has a great flow. It's roomy. They won't be bumping into each other anymore. The addition of the permanent elements is amazing. There's a whole street portion that's awesome. We have the space and funds available. The users really want the park back. They have been missing it. So I just ask that you please approve this option 2 so that we can get going with the construction and get our park back. And I would like to thank Allie for all your hard work on this project. It's really appreciated. Thank you.
Thank you. Elizabeth Goff.
Good evening. You have no idea how excited I am about a new skate park. I have bitched and complained about the current skate park ever since I saw it, so I'm very excited that you're moving it. I'm actually not here about that tonight. However, I am here because the Kiwanis board member and emergency food pantry leader, Sandy Sutter, is out of town, and she asked me to attend to read the letter that I believe she sent to you, but wanted it read publicly. She wrote, "Dear City Council members, thank you for bringing this discussion of uses for the former Napper Junction School to the public. Since the pandemic, the American Canyon Emergency Food Pantry, managed by the Kiwanis Club, has provided about 50 tons of food to people in our community. Individuals and businesses in the American Canyon community have stepped up through their donations, $70,000 and 125 barrels of food in the last 3 years, and volunteer participation. Currently, we give out food once a month and on an emergency basis. American Canyon residents can pick up 2 boxes of non-perishable goods, one provided by our food pantry and the other from the U.S. Department of Agriculture. Our food storage area isn't appropriate for general public use, so we distribute the food at the Aquatic Center parking lot. Thank you for allowing us to use the Aquatic Center parking lot for this purpose. If we had a dedicated classroom or 2, and I'm hoping for 2, near a parking lot at the former Napa Junction School, which Mr. Hawley did mention might be available, we could have a publicly accessible location for food storage and our monthly food distribution. We also could consider using this space to provide another location and time for a choice model of food distribution, which is what the Napa Food Bank does at Harvest Church twice a month. Residents could pick up the food items they want and need rather than the standard box of food we put together each month. I believe this will add greater dignity for our residents in need. My hope is that the City Council members decide this is a great enough benefit to our community to provide this space to Kiwanis and the American Canyon Emergency Food Pantry at no or very limited cost. Sincerely, Sandy Sutter. I'd like to just second her plea to allow the food pantry to move into the space at Napa Junction as you plan the use for that facility. Napa Junction was always my very favorite school to visit when I ran a mentoring program at the middle school. That has a history of community and care, and I would love to see that going still at that location and really extend it to our entire community. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Okay, try 2. Michelle Marin, also for the food bank, reiterating what's already been said, is that the American Canyon Emergency Food Bank has been really an important free resource for city residents who are in need. And currently it takes a lot of volunteers, both youth and adult, to store, pack, and then cart across the city to distribute at the Aqua Center. And it would really be nice to have it all in one place. You're certainly gonna get more out of your volunteers and hopefully a better service for those who need it in a much more dignified way. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
I was part of the group that started the skateball park, and at the time I was sort of disappointed in the city council because they made it temporary. It's nice to see that they actually had the forethought. I think option 2 would be a good choice. We now have a place that we know we want our skateboard park, and it'd be nice for us to have a skateboard park that other people want to come to. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Kenneth Leary, American Canyon. I just want to say hooray for the skateboard park. My earlier comments about funding and things and how to get more money out of this tourist-centered county for residential needs is important. I think all of these things we can have. I've seen them in other tourist cities that get a lot more money. Regarding the food pantry, I've volunteered in the food pantry for many, many years. We have done lots of good things there. However, it's someone else's space. To have a space where there can be refrigeration and those kinds of things, it would go a long way for extending the purpose of the food pantry and providing needed food and resources to the community. And in a location where people can drive up and pick up their food. There's a lot of work in transporting this food around, and so I see it as a need, and I hope the council does too. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Any other speakers in the audience?
I'm just trying to get a closer
get the. My name is Isaac Biera. I have been a resident for 37 years, and I was the co-chairman of the original skate park. And I will say that this park looks a lot more like the one that I originally designed. So very happy about that. As a resident for 37 years, I was in high school when we started the skate park. I mean, I think Mr. Joseph was on the city council way over there in the senior center back in the day when I came and spoke about this. And I didn't like the spot it was selected then, where it's at now. I still don't like it now, and for different reasons. Weird. As a kid, I didn't like it there because of the schools, and I wouldn't be able to go during school hours. As an adult, I don't like it there because it's hidden, and I can't see kids back there. It's kind of rowdy now that I'm a soccer coach, and we're trying to coach kids, and there's kids riding dirt bikes and things in there. It's kind of weird, but I like the new place. I do like the new park. And being in this meeting tonight and hearing about the Broadway project, that concerns me. Having a Broadway project so close to a brand new skate park like that. So just wanted to say thank you all for your time, and that's my piece.
Thank you. Were you part of the group that came forward and got the concrete pad donated?
No, I was. I don't know how it came about. I just showed up at a city council meeting one night, and
no, it was a group of young people came in and said, we want a skateboard park, and one way to get it.
Yes.
They actually went out and got one of the big builders, because they were doing a lot of construction here, to donate the pad. And then he said, okay, we'll meet you halfway.
Yeah, it was Stravinsky Development Group that actually donated the cement slab, and then the city bought the ramps.
Okay.
That was all after. That was all done after me. What we had put forth, I wrote letters to get grants. I'm trying to remember the council member's name or the Parks and Rec guy's name.
Oh, either Randy
Davis.
It was Randy.
Davis. Yeah.
Randy Davis. He worked with me a lot to help me write the grants. I got high school credits in government through that. Helped me graduate, and we got a lot of it, the groundwork done and approved by the city. And it was just it took a long time to actually get it done. But then after that, I think some other members of the community.
Did you do the flags for 4th of July or part of the band when they had the rock and roll band for the skateboard park?
No. But my son, he plays in a rock band. He needs members.
Well, thank you for the update on that. It was just, I remember some history on that when I was new to council. Thank you.
All right.
Right. Any other public comment for those attending?
Down history lane is fun once in a while.
Yeah. Anybody online?
There was one gentleman online that had submitted a oh, good.
We
He's got
have
his hand
3
up.
hands raised.
Mm-hmm.
Cherry. Hi,
Hi, good
Cherry.
Good evening.
So I just want to point out that the Silver Oaks, the bathroom.
Could you identify your name, please, for the record?
Oh, this is Froy and Cherry. The two of us are here. Fernandez. And we have 3 kids that go to Canyon Oaks Elementary. And after school, there's a lot of kids at that park. And, it'll be really beneficial to have bathrooms there. As well as on the weekends, I've always seen there are all activities at that park. So it's even though, like the other parks need attention, this is a park that's being used a lot. And so it'll be nice for the kids to have a place to go, like a clean bathroom and a place to wash their hands. And so I just wanted to, highlight that it is a park that's being used. Thank you.
Thank you. Did you get his name?
The Silver Oaks Park.
Oh,
the speaker.
Oh, Froy, F-R-O-Y.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. Do we have another speaker online?
X Burr.
Hi, can you guys hear me okay?
Yes, we can.
Okay.
Yes, we can hear you.
My name is Xavier Burrell. I've been living in American Canyon about 25 years, my whole life, 25 now. I brought a lot of the skate park kids just to watch, to mention that we would like option 2. We skate there quite often. As it's been closed, we haven't been able to. I've seen people kind of like break in. We've just kind of been patient waiting for the removal of the skate park, just kind of keeping on the updates. I've posted in groups about it. We are very passionate about this whole project, and we would really like this funded.
Thank you. Next speaker.
Excuse me, you had submitted a comment, I think, expressing some concerns about one of the frames or the layout of it. Can you clarify that or mention it? Or?
So on one of the ramps that we currently have, they removed portion of the ramp to put stairs. The stairs, no one really skates. There's not enough run up for us skaters or anything. They're more in the way. They're a hazard. People have tried to jump down them, and they're just not in a great place. We would much prefer just having the ramp back as it was, if possible, or another obstacle of some sort, because it is kind of a hazard to us skaters.
Okay.
Yeah, Mayor, if I may.
Yes.
The designs that we have a proposal and a quote from the contractor, but they're not set in stone, even though we're proposing to use concrete. We're going to tweak these and finalize the design, and so it's really great hearing from all of these community members tonight. We want to engage a small group and kind of finalize the design with them, with the contractor who builds these things for a living. And we noticed, so the schematics have this probably a little bit too close to the creek, for example. We're gonna have to tweak the design of this a little bit and fine tune it exactly. But I'm not a skater or an expert, and we're gonna engage some of our advocates and some of our users and get a final design that everyone's excited about.
Janelle Selick.
Good evening.
Hello, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Janelle Selick, I'm, I guess, speaking with a couple hats tonight. First and foremost, I'm speaking as a community member right now. I'm thrilled to see all of these agenda items on the agenda tonight. And speaking as a former Parks Commissioner, seeing option 2 for the skate park is incredibly exciting. And I think watching it grow in scale and in scope alongside the rest of our community as it undertakes this growth is really important. It's time to invest in it. It's been a process since it's been closed for a little while, and kind of recognizing the bigger vision. This is a good time to get it funded and get it going. I love the design for option 2. I also think exploring options for the food pantry to have some space at Napa Junction is an exciting idea. And now kind of putting on my executive director of the American Canyon Community and Parks Foundation hat, and following up on the letter that we wrote, we do support the move to Napa Junction. It's exciting on many facets to see the growth and potential opportunity both at the Corporation Yard and for Napa Junction. So really excited about the agenda tonight and encourage council to take action. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else online?
There are no speakers.
Okay. Anybody in the audience want to make a comment? Seeing none, matters closed. We'll return to council here for discussion and decide action. Councilmember Oro.
Well, you get on council to be able to vote on things like this, because this is stuff that really matters to the community. I mean, it all matters in a lot of ways, and I'm not neglecting roads and streets and things of that nature, but this is something that this council has talked about for a very long time, improving our parks and adding to it. And I think I added in a discussion recently what one speaker said, former council member Kenneth Leary said about having the best parks, or what I said, world-class parks. This is our opportunity to do that. I'm really happy that staff came back to us with option 2 on the skate park, giving us a bowl for skaters, which really adds to it. And, you know, it's going to change the way that people interact with the parks. And in fact, if we go through every one of these things that are in the staff report tonight, we will improve our parks by 100%. And also, since I've been on council, there's this thing out there called the Capital Reserve. I think it's at $2 million right now. And for years, I've been asking how to use that money. What could we use it for? And I've never gotten a chance to use it, and I'm so excited to use it because I think this is something that we can actually apply it for. And it's coupled with funds that are from ARPA, which is the American Rescue Plan Act, which is basically kind of doubling or extending our money. I did want to address some things that I've seen in the community, particularly on social media and Facebook, about the location. Tonight we heard every speaker support the new location. Online, they're like, why are you moving it? We're worried. A speaker tonight talked about possible crime over there, and I saw those comments online. And I asked our police chief to actually get back to me about how many calls they get over at Veterans Park. And police chief, I'm gonna have to keep you, if you don't mind coming up. I think it's better coming from you because I thought the stats were really good. Because rather than crime over in Veterans Park, it's not actual crime. It's a crime of convenience. And what I read on social media was, I have to cross the highway. Well, guess what? I live on the east side of town, and I have to cross the highway to go to the skate park. The town is not that big. We can get there. It might be a little bit more walk for you. It may not be as convenient as earlier, but the east side of town never had a skate park before. So just could you address that really quick, and I'll continue with my comments. So,
yeah, good evening, Mayor and Council and members of the public. So at Veterans Park in 2022, we had 82 calls for service, and of those calls, some of them, so I'll break it down. Of the 82, 23 were also, the dog park is obviously there too. So it's in our system, the dog park, when we get dispatched there, it pops up on our dispatch center as the dog park, Veterans Park, all the same. So 23 of those calls were for animal service calls, and probably related to the dog park, of course. 24 were self-initiated calls for service, where officers were out patrolling and just were patrolling the area and checking the welfare of people at the park. 35 calls were actually called in by residents and various parking issues, loud music, welfare checks on community members. And I'll just have to add that there were no violent crimes reported or taken at the park last year.
83?
82.
82, and I think you gave me a total number of calls in the city last year?
Total number was over 16,000.
Yeah. So it's not really a problem. And I invite all West Side residents to come visit the East Side. It's safe. So with that, I would say yes to all of this right now. I'd say the rest to option 2. I'd say yes to the ARPA funding on the Napa Junction schools. I'd say yes to getting the food pantry in there. I really like that idea. I think it's a marvelous idea, and it's a great use of space there for that. I'd even go so far as to say if we had the money now, we would go in with the improvements in Northampton Park and the Silver Oak Park bathroom and the Via Bellagio playground surface area. I looked at that, and that's $640,000 in terms of estimated cost. If we don't do it tonight, and I don't think we will because staff says they're not ready, and I appreciate that, but I don't think we should say no to option 2 on the skate park or improvements in Napa Junction, because I feel confident, and I'm looking the city manager in the eye and Mr. Gomez in the eye, that we will be able to find funding for that in March when we do our capital allocation projects. And I know that the city council earlier got a memo from Mr. Gomez, our finance director, saying that sales tax increases are a little bit higher this year, and we could probably use a little bit of that. So with a skate park, a bowl in the skate park, which would be awesome, Napa Junction, and then bathrooms coming in Northampton and Silver Oak and the Shade Canopy in Northampton Park, we're really making an investment in this community, and I think by later this year, we'll have improved our parks greatly. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Joseph.
Yes. Well, certainly I appreciate all these investments. but I also have to put it in a context, because I appreciate the third element, talking for a budget workshop. Probably for all 12 years that I've been here, I have talked about various elements of fiscal management and fiscal policies. And if I can summarize them quickly, number one, first and foremost, what I used to call a capital set-aside fund. Former council member Leary used to talk about funding deferred maintenance. It's two ways of saying the same thing. And it's particularly relevant. That is first and foremost. We've got to begin setting monies aside. It's essentially funding your accumulated depreciation. Because parks wear out, streets wear out, and you've got to have a dedicated revenue stream to cover those costs. Now, right now, we've got a $2 million reserve that took us about 10 or 12 years to accumulate, and what Councilmember Oro is talking about will more or less reduce at least half of it, if not more. And you could argue, well, what else would you use it for? Good point. But we also learned in the last capital budget that we have essentially a $5 million gap in our park improvements. And that's before every project that was identified doubled in cost, once we went from just a budget to here we have a proposal. So my concern is we are looking at $5 or $6 million of a funding gap for parks alone, not to mention streets. And if we don't start looking at an annual revenue stream of probably $1 million or $2 million a year, we're going to be able to do some great stuff for right now, and then in about 3 years we'll be broke and wondering how it all came to be. So first and foremost, we've got to start paying attention to that long-term funding of deferred maintenance. We've got to look at other elements of our fiscal management. And I appreciate having a budget workshop in March, because I think we need to lay these concepts out and not just focus on the immediate issue of how do we pay for $1 million worth of capital improvements, because frankly, that's easy. You know, you've got a $2 million reserve, so you can pay for it easily. What do you do about the $5 million? What do you do about the next cycle? What do you do about the streets and everything else? We have to be sensitive to the fact that it's our job up here to worry about the long-term relationship in terms of having our financial abilities. So yes, all of these things are great. You know, there isn't anything in here I wouldn't say this is good stuff. I'm just throwing out the same caution I throw out all the time. There's a lot of fiscal responsibility that we've got to build into our system. And there hasn't been any crisis over the last 10 years, other than me ranting, but now something is different. Now we're talking about spending big dollars, and it's like any other time. When everything is kind of static, you don't need to do things that well because it's static and everything is manageable. When you change something, like deciding to spend millions of dollars on capital projects, that's when the lack of your fiscal infrastructure, if you will, starts to bite you. So I'm throwing it out as a cautionary tale again. We've got to be worried about this. We've got to start building it into our budget process. I'm looking forward to the discussion in March on that issue. Specifically, can I support option 2 for the skate park? Sure. Can I support the $700,000 for Napa Junction improvements? Yes. Just as we've heard from the food pantry, on behalf of the Arts Foundation, we too would like a class space. So I usually have a conflict of interest on just about any community thing, and here I have them on both. And then lastly, again, the budget workshop is critical, in large part because we have to decide what's more important. If you said, should we spend $600,000 for a really cool skate park, the answer is yes, of course. If it was, do you want a skate park like that, or do you want parks with bathrooms, or did you want an extended road that, you know, provides safety? That's when the decision making is more difficult, and that's the reason why you're supposed to do it all at one time during the annual budget process. So there's a lot of things we need to do that has nothing to do with these capital improvements. I'm just, again, throwing it out, and sooner or later, you know, you'll be able to repeat after me when I bring it up. So again, I'm okay with what's being recommended, but I really want to encourage everyone to recognize we've got to start paying attention to those long-term financial responsibilities, because now we're starting to spend big money, and that's when things will start going sideways. Thank you.
Thank you for that. I share your words of caution. Councilmember Albadamas.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you, staff, for putting this together. I agree with a lot of what both of my colleagues actually just said. So you guys all know me. I grew up here. I'm all about the parks and renovating the parks and keeping the parks maintained and having, I grew up in these parks. I've said that over and over and over again. So option 2 looks amazing, and I don't even skate. But I have to emphasize what Councilmember Joseph just said at the very end is, if we're gonna make this decision tonight, then what I need is reassurances that the canopy, the surface, the bathrooms are not gonna become a non-option in March. It's difficult for me to make a decision on trying to decide between, you know, having bathrooms and a canopy at one park and having a really extravagant skate park when I don't know if we're gonna be able to afford both. I kind of alluded to that in the beginning, but that's where I'm at. I would love to see the skate park happen. I just need assurances that we can afford it. Councilmember Oro addressed that a little bit. If everything that he said is copacetic, then I'm on board. But I don't know, when it comes to the budget and what we can and can't afford, I don't know. And so it's difficult for me to say, yes, let's do this, if I don't know if we're gonna be able to afford having a bathroom later. And then also what Councilmember Joseph said, I've said it a million times before, I'm like pounding my fist. We do need to keep our parks maintained because these parks, all of the parks that we have were new at one point. And then, you know, things happen, we don't maintain them, we don't keep up with the most current water fountains or whatever, and then the quality of our parks deteriorates, and then we need to spend all of this money all at once to do it all over again. So I'm agreeing with that. If we're gonna vote on yes or no in like 5 minutes, I'm still not there. I don't know how I would vote on this issue right now. Not because I'm against option 2, I think it's amazing, and I would love to have that as a resident of American Canyon, but because I don't wanna say yes to option 2 and then have to say no to a bathroom in March. So those are my comments for now, Mr. Mayor, thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate the comments and public comment as well. I was looking at the design on this, and here's a couple thoughts here. Are we at a point where we really need to have a better understanding of our physical status before we move forward? Because I'm hearing a bit of that. I have a concern with that. The workshop idea to me is very important to understand that better. Also with that is, well, say with option 2, there's different components in it. Does it all have to be built at once? Can there be a timeline giving funding basis that we will add certain components later? Likewise with the Old Napa Junction School. It doesn't all have to get done at once. It can be an ongoing project. So if it was broken down, probably the cost per component certainly would be less, I would think. And it would have less impact on the budget. I do think, going back to the budget, I think we do need to have a better understanding of that. Because, you know, the well can run dry. And then that's going to be a challenge. But if we have the footprint established and we have the project list identified, maybe it's over time we can say, oh, this one, we have funding for this component initially, this one comes secondarily, and it'll be over time to complete them. Aside from that, I'm looking at option 2 for the skateboard park. And where is the ramps from the current park? They're not in the picture?
They're in there. You scroll down.
They're in there, Mayor. The software that's used by the company, there's things that look kind of brown or tannish, are actually the features that are being moved over.
Okay.
In real life, they are steel, but
Gotcha.
There's limitations on the software. That's why it's a conceptual design.
Very good. Okay, that answers that question for me.
Mayor, if I may address...
Please weigh in. Mr. Hawley?
Yeah, if I may address what I thought was a question about phasing, perhaps. As it relates to the skate park, it would be pretty challenging to try and phase that over a period of time. Really not practical to phase option 2. The concrete slab is, of course, the biggest piece. The bowls themselves have to be integrated and kind of built at the same time. We have to move the equipment over from the park. So as I look at trying to spread out option 2 from a budgeting perspective, I don't really see how you could do that. As it relates to the Napa Junction School project, you certainly could try and break that into pieces. There's, again, like we said, kind of 2 components. The western component is meant to facilitate the Corporation Yard move, which facilitates the Eco Center project.
Right.
The eastern half facilitates the rehabbing and the cleaning up and the anti-vandalism that makes it available for the public, for rental, for community groups, et cetera. So would it be possible to break that one? Sure, it delays probably the Eco Center more than anything, because we would probably focus then on the east side. I wanted to also maybe address some of Councilmember Abadamos's questions. We know, for example, that our capital reserve right now is $2 million. If the staff recommendation is approved, that goes down to $1.3 million. And so the conversation that we're talking about in March, the items that are shown on page 146, the total of those is about $700,000. And so automatically, the council could go in March and say there's a fund balance of 1.3 in the capital reserve and there's 700 there. So you could pay for that on March, and it could be as simple as that. The LAD, both Zone 1 and Zone 2, have sufficient fund balance, although it would be pretty much exhausting their capital fund balance in those particular funds to do the Silver Oak restroom and the Via Bellagio playground surface. So, those parks are owned and those parks are assets of those LAAD funds. It stands to reason we would use those funds for those enhancements, but that's probably a broader conversation with particularly the payers of those 2 zones, Zone 1 and Zone 2. So that's a kind of a complicated question, I think, that needs to happen. But if you added those 2 funding sources, then you definitely would have those fundings. And as was referenced earlier, we are expecting some better than projected sales tax to be received, and we are bringing a mid-year budget 2 weeks from now that will reflect some of that increased sales tax, both retrospectively, that will show up as a one-time, and then prospectively as ongoing. So that'll be a portion of that budget workshop in March, just to think that through a little bit. It's been a little while since we've had a change in ongoing revenue in that way. So I'm not, when we get to the budget workshop, there won't be a way to do everything that might be of interest to the community. That list far exceeds our available resources. But the items that are listed on page 146, the capital reserve alone could pay for it, and then you would also have fund balance in both of the LAD zones to add to that availability. So hopefully that answers your question. But I mean, you're right to be talking about priorities and to try and have the bigger picture.
Thank you for that. I think that really helps me with forecasting where we are. Councilmember Abadamos, your light's on.
Sorry, I did have one more question for Chief Greenberg. People were talking about, like Councilmember Oro mentioned, people were talking about potential crime there, and you addressed crime as it is right now. People also addressed concerns tonight about potential crime after the Broadway project is completed, if it comes to completion. I know you and I have talked offline about the Broadway project, and you don't anticipate it bringing crime into American Canyon, or much more crime into American Canyon. But did you want to just come back to the podium and hopefully put some concerns to ease?
Evening again. And obviously, you're not the only one with that question. I've been asked that question numerous times by city staff, community members as well. So that project is in the city of Vallejo. Therefore, that means the city of Vallejo is responsible for any calls for service to that project or to that location. So we won't be responding unless there's a request for emergency mutual aid or a natural disaster or some significant event there, and they're requesting for mutual aid. We will not be responding for calls for service there. So it's not going to affect our call load and take away from us providing, the community service that we do for this community.
So I think the concern is more that it would bleed into the park. Crime would lead into the park, which is in American Canyon. And I'm not trying to push, but my personal opinion is there's a homeless encampment kitty corner from the location, and I haven't seen any crime or heard of any crime coming in from that. And to me, it's not going to be that major of a difference, but I wanted your opinion because this is what you do, and I'm not the expert here.
So we have a no camping ordinance in American Canyon, and we really emphasize that. We do get calls at Vets Park sometimes between the railroad tracks and the park of homeless encampments, and we work with Public Works on cleaning that up a couple times a year and moving those folks along. So, and to answer the question on crime being kind of bleeded over from that facility, you know, I can't predict the future on that. It's really tough. I hope not, and I know we'll continue. As you can see, a lot of the calls for service at Vets Park were proactive from our officers going out there, doing patrol checks, shooing people along that aren't supposed to be there. So we don't plan on not doing that any longer. So, anything else?
What about parking? Because I think that has always been a concern to me, that there isn't a lot of parking for that project. Therefore, they may begin parking along the right-of-way down on the street. Or
that's something that we'll probably have to work with city staff on as it develops. Obviously, we have parking enforcement officers, and we will continue to issue parking citations, tow vehicles that aren't supposed to be there.
Thank you.
Yep.
Councilmember Oro?
Yeah, and just kind of want to follow up on those conversations. I agree with Councilmember Joseph on funding ongoing possibilities for funding and repairs and capital improvement projects is what we want. I've supported you on the past on that. I'd love to see the staff to figure out how to do that in a way that is repeatable. I think, right? We're getting it every year, repeatable. We know what the issue is. Tonight, I don't want to miss out on this opportunity of fully funding Napa Junction and skateboard option 2. This is, at least from the time I've been on council, this has never come before me, and I've wanted to say yes to something like this for years. And I beg the council to make that point, and that the people that put you up here behind this dais will thank you tremendously for it, without a doubt. And I'll also go out on a limb to make sure that come March, I'll find a way to get some canopies and some bathrooms into that capital improvement project. And I would ask staff to do that. So there will be a supportive vote for me to continue to improve those parks in March. And this body that's sitting behind this dais right now has the power to do that. So keep that in mind. It's not a staff thing. There was also another thing about us, an either or of do these parks or do streets or do something else. Reminder, the global pandemic gifted us with ARPA funds, and we are spending dollars to improve all of Rio Del Mar. We're applying that money to take long-time infrastructure funding to put on that. Remember, when we were presented these ARPA funds, we were like, what could we do beforehand? This council wisely chose to put into infrastructure. It's not very sexy. We're digging up, we're redoing basically all of Rancho in terms of the infrastructure there. That's a big commitment. We also talked about a bright, shiny object, and we didn't have it at the time, and we were holding on to it to try to figure out what that bright, shiny object is. It is in front of us tonight, and I would urge the council to vote for it. Thank you.
Councilmember Joseph?
Yes. I think I've already made my pitch on finance, but I wanted to mention on Napa Junction a couple of other things. We've heard a lot about the food pantry and the Arts Foundation and that element, and I encourage staff to move forward with the mechanics of that. But I also want to mention a couple of other things. One nice advantage of acquiring that site is we have all the fields in the back of the school, and we know that Little League has been wondering about where they're going to go and whether they need to grow or not. So just to put it on the radar, we should take advantage of the fact that we have those fields on the backside in working with Little League to see how that can play out, number one. And then number two, as Corina Cervantes sent in oh, that's right, I'm moving ahead of myself. That's the next item, never mind. And then the other point being, on the 700,000, there's talk about solar arrays and EV charging, and the memo points out there's probably some rebates and funding for that, which I certainly hope we take advantage of, because what I'd like to suggest is that reimbursement stay in the Napa Junction capital project, for lack of a better term, because somewhere down the road, well, because we all know there's probably, you know, hundreds, if not millions of dollars of improvements to make that facility even better. So every little bit of money we can recoup and pour back into the facility is a good idea. Other than that, like I said, I think all these are great ideas. I just want to worry, you know, we have a new finance director, so he's going to have a good opportunity to show us what we can do to make sure we can continue this kind of constant improvement. And there are ways of doing it, no question about it. It's just somebody's got to yell a lot about it to make sure we all pay attention. So I'm glad I got a chance to vent tonight, and I appreciate all of my support from the colleagues. And I look forward to March.
Very good. Councilmember Alba-Damos?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Councilmember Joseph, you are glowing from that support. So I don't see any more lights on over there or any more comments, and I'm ready to make the motion.
I was going to ask, is we ready to make a motion on
I'm
this?
ready to make the motion.
Very good, go ahead.
I'd like to move resolution number 2023 next in order, a resolution of the City Council of the City of American Canyon increasing the project budget for the skate park relocation project from $380,000 to $708,000, with the source of funding being Fund 240 federal grants, the American Rescue Plan Act, awarding a construction contract to the American Ramp Company in the amount of $630,000 in conjunction with the project, and authorizing the city manager to award contract change orders in an amount not to exceed the project budget.
I'll second.
Motion second, roll call, please.
Councilmember Alba-Damos?
Yes.
Councilmember Joseph?
Yes.
Councilmember Oro?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Washington?
Yes.
Mayor Garcia?
Yes, thank you, council. Next resolution. I'm looking forward to that.
So I'll make the motion, unless you want to take it, Councilmember Alba-Damos. Make a motion to adopt resolution number 2023 next in order. A resolution of the City Council of the City of American Canyon amending the FY 2022-23 capital budget to create a new capital project, former Napa Junction School Upgrades Project, CF 23-0300, establishing a project budget in the amount of $700,000 with the source of funding as the General Fund Capital Reserve, and authorizing the city manager to award contracts and contract change order in the amount not to exceed the project budget.
I'll second.
Motion second, roll call, please.
Councilmember Alba-Damos?
Beth is gone, but she said that Napa Junction's a special place, and I just have to agree with her. For those of you who don't know, I'm a product of Napa Junction Elementary School, and I'm voting yes on this.
Councilmember Joseph?
Yes.
Councilmember Oro?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Washington?
Yeah, great job, Jason and team, staff. Yes.
Mayor Garcia?
Yes, thank you all. I look forward to it getting done. We also have a minute order.
And then
there's a minute
I'll make a motion that we call for a fiscal year 2023-24 budget workshop to discuss priorities for funding other capital improvements, including a shade structure at Northampton, permanent bathrooms at Northampton and Silver Oaks Park, and a new playground surface at Via Bellagio Park.
I'll second.
Motion and second, roll call, please.
Councilmember Alba-Damos?
Yes.
Councilmember Joseph?
Yes.
Councilmember Oro?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Washington?
Yes.
Mayor Garcia?
Yes. Thank you, council. I really look forward to this conversation going forward, particularly with the budget workshop. I think the other two items certainly are great amenities added to enrich the life of American Canyon. So I look forward to that. And I do have a skateboard. And I also have a walker. Okay, moving on in our agenda, we're on now to item 16, maintenance of utilities department, parks, buildings maintenance, fleet update.
Thank you, Mayor. Director Hernandez will be giving the update tonight, and I'm pretty sure he has a presentation, Cherry, if you wanted to pull that up. And this is an ongoing series where we are providing more regular updates from departments on different operations and different highlights of their department. We're going through this first series of updates to council where we'll be giving presentations, and then the format after that will switch to just presentation updates in the packet. And if the council wants to have follow-up questions and so forth, we can certainly do that. But with that, I'll turn over. Thank you, Felix.
All right, good evening, Mayor and Council.
Good evening.
Members of the public. First, my disclaimer, I forgot my contact lenses today, so if I missed something, the font on here is pretty small.
I use bigger print for things.
I almost went down and got some glasses, like CVS or something. So anyway, okay. So Maintenance Utilities Department, Maintenance Utilities Director Felix Hernandez giving the update on the Fleet Buildings Parks Division. So, fleet maintenance. I'm going to look up here. It's easier for me to see. So our fleet maintenance. Well, I guess I can't on the microphone. Darn it. All right, I'm going to bear with me. One full-time staff member manages the entire fleet, including the public works fleet, parks and maintenance, some tractor, heavy machinery, and then the police fleet, 18-plus vehicles. Does the 90-day California Highway Patrol safety inspections and manages registrations, smogs, things of that nature. Here we have some vehicles, new vehicles that we've purchased in the department. Throughout the sewer division, VACCON, one of the police interceptors, and some other vehicles that are pool vehicles. Fleet highlights for 2022, the city received 7 police interceptors, 3 Ford Escape hybrid pool vehicles, 1 all-electric transit van, an EcoBoost F-150 pickup truck, and 1 Ford Explorer. In the queue, we do have police interceptor, Ford Mavericks, some Ford F-150s, and some F-550 utility bodies. I'm going to touch on the Lightnings. So we have tried to get more hybrid and all-electric vehicles, and the list is continually, we're on the list, and then we're done making them for the year. So my understanding is how that works is, maybe a bad analogy, but you're in line at Disneyland, you're in line, right? Or, in the fair, and then the ride breaks down and you're like, oh, you're waiting, but you get closer and you keep getting closer. That's how we are. So we're on the list. As these orders get filled, everyone on that list gets moved up. So we're moving closer. We believe we're going to get them sometime this fiscal year towards the end when the ordering becomes open again. Then we'll replace the order, but we're going to be higher on that list.
If I can butt in, does that mean that you'll defer the purchase in order to get those Lightning F-150s?
As soon as we can get the electric vehicles and hybrids, we're going to get them as fast as we can. What was happening early on was because there was supply chain issues and things of that nature. We were like, okay, we have our list, and we'll take them as they're coming in. As soon as we could fill orders, we were getting those orders. Then things kind of settled down a little bit. They started being a little more organized with ordering, and then we have these ordered windows that open up. As soon as they open up, Enterprise knows we want these vehicles. So that process keeps starting over, but we get higher and higher on the list to fill our order.
Okay. The point I'm trying to make is we're not going to say, okay, I'm just going to buy a regular truck because I don't want to wait any longer.
No.
Okay, great. Thank you.
I hope not. We're putting in more charge stations, so we're not going to do that.
We'll need them. Yes, thank you.
100% can commit to that. Building maintenance, we do have that position was vacant for a while. We have a recent person that started on the 30th of last month. Bill Dotson has started with us. So building maintenance.
Just a shout out to Bill Dotson.
Oh.
Isaac knows him because Isaac knows him. He and Bill and we were on a softball team called the Dirty South. That's what we're saying. So, Yes, yeah. Yeah, the Bill who wins the bocce league every year there too, Mark. Welcome, Bill. I saw him in the hallway today on the brand new truck, so.
Things are already getting, there were things that are, I'm like, they were on the list, and well, it's done. So he's really hit the ground running. So, so one full-time staff member, this says it's vacant, but it's not. 13 city-owned facilities, which we're going through now that we have someone on full-time. We're going to go through that list systematically. But some of those highlights there. There's some of the facilities, which I'm sure you're all aware of. These building highlights, so onboarding new staff members, upgrading the key card system at City Hall, which I know is exciting for a lot of folks that have to use that darn thing. It doesn't work all the time. 300 Napa Junction Road facility for Corporation Yard. That's stuff that was City Manager Hawley had just highlighted. And fencing, replacing windows, things of that nature at Napa Junction School. Parks maintenance, outdoor facilities, which you're well aware of, staffed by park supervisor, 1 senior maintenance worker, and 4 maintenance workers. We do have some vacancies in that division as well. Currently, we'll be recruiting that shortly. Maintenance of the Newell open space, wetlands, bay trail, some green spaces, repairing field along the creek, as well as maintenance at the aquatic center. 22 parks, trash, debris. Here's some photos of staff out there, parks maintenance staff with some graffiti abatement, spreading some chips, doing some maintenance at the aquatic center. This lower right-hand side laying down on the job. No, he's some of those highlights, recent accomplishments, the fall-winter season tree care, open space weed abatement. We had the holiday tree decoration and that we helped Parks and Rec with. Repair several irrigation leaks. That's an ongoing thing for us. Deployed the remote control mower, which there's a photo of it here, which council was had approved some months back, and it's been helps in those the high traffic areas where we have the medians and things like that. We don't have to get staff in there. We can put this machine in there and get that taken care of with the remote. Things that are coming up: citywide shrub pruning, baseball field season opening prep, bocce ball court season opening, irrigation system upgrades. Hopefully that's not my phone hearing my voice saying, what are you talking about? Citywide irrigation system upgrades, which will be coming to council shortly as well. With that, I'll take some questions.
Thank you for the presentation. Wow. That's a lot of movement in new directions, I think, too, huh? With the fleet and all.
Absolutely.
That's very good.
Yep.
No, that's a worthy accomplishment there. And, well, there's never a lack of work to do, I would guess. Yeah. Councilmember Joseph.
Yes, and I'm not sure if it's your shop or Parks and Recs that's doing the field prep for Little League and or the Compark 1 baseball diamonds? That's you guys?
Yeah, maintenance utilities.
Okay. So you've got that under control, more or less?
Well, I would say more.
Okay. No, I understand that there's some, okay. Hey, no, there's issues. It's a field that's been beat up, and so, doing it right would involve, redoing the whole field, and we don't expect that, but.
Agreed, yeah, I took a phone call from Karina last week, I believe it was. She was asking about that, and it was, the timing was actually just everything in line. She said, when is this gonna be taken care of in mode? And I'm like, they're out there today.
Okay,
So,
great. Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
Councilmember Albadamos.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And thank you, Felix, for that presentation. I have a couple of questions.
Sure.
So I saw building maintenance, parks maintenance, but who and which department? And I think you and I were supposed to connect, and then I got pregnant and nothing happened after that. But in terms of like the leaves on the streets, there are some parts of the city where the leaves are so bad that if you walk, you could potentially slip, especially when it rains, because there's so many leaves. And that's not the entire city, but some streets are worse than others. When and where and who does that maintenance?
Well, I believe Public Works through Streets and Storm Drain, we coordinate, and maintenance utilities, we do coordinate in some regard with the street sweeper, and that's just when environmental division works. Like if there's something happens that something's broke down or whatever, Recology gets a hold of us. I could hopefully, Erica could speak more to that because I'm certain that
And I don't think it's something that
maintenance
this-
utilities doesn't go out there and do it. It's
Okay.
fairly certain. Streets and Storm Drains takes care of the leaves, goes and does all the preventive maintenance before winter time. They'll go in there, take the VACCON out, clean all the drop inlets, and so things aren't overflowing. Even though I do get calls about that.
Okay. Well, I don't think the street sweeper is going to get it because often, like on American Canyon Road on the west side, that's on the sidewalks, and that's why I'm concerned about people slip and falling because those leaves get very slippery. So I will talk to you offline, Erica. Next question. Oh, you know that round thing on Newell across from the high school? It's pretty. There's seats there. It's on the trail.
If it looks good, then yeah, then I know.
Well, I'm just curious if that's counted as one of the parks that you're talking about maintaining, because oftentimes there's a lot of graffiti in there.
I'm not familiar with what you're referencing.
Across from the high school, there's.
Oh, yeah, okay,
like
yeah.
Dr. Nick and his team did their greeting
Rode
cards
the
there.
bike through
I think there was a fountain attribute to that.
Yeah, I know exactly. Yeah, I know what you're talking about now.
Yeah. So is that considered one of the parks
It's-
that you maintain, or is that also
We do
Erica?
we do maintain that. I believe that particular section is contracted out.
Oh, okay.
It's part of our landscape contract.
Okay, so there's oftentimes a lot of graffiti in there and garbage, and it's too beautiful to be that dirty. So maybe it's something that you can talk to the contractor about checking on, or maybe more frequently.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Thank you. And then last thing, can you go back to the slide where you showed a picture of the facilities and the police department was there? And this is so minor, right there. Do you see the American Canyon Police and Fire?
I
And
can't
those,
see
like-
much really without my contact lenses.
Okay, well, hopefully everybody else can see, but there's like all these white lines. It's just, it needs to be buffed up. Do you see it?
Oh, okay, yeah.
I don't know if that's even a possibility,
Or
but.
if I don't know.
And it's
if I have
super
this.
minor, but it's just such a.
This mouse is, we're talking, it's like over here?
She's
Is it
referring
on
to
the
the
lettering?
monument
talking
sign
about-
in front of the public
I'm
safety
talking
building.
about that really
Okay,
pretty,
yeah.
the
sign.
really pretty sign, because it's a beautiful sign, and then that just immediately, like when you showed this picture, that's where my eye went. Instead of looking at all the beautiful buildings that we have, it went straight to,
Looks like
that.
some
So-
sort of a
And it's minor and it's silly, but it's gonna make it look so much better.
stain, yeah. Yeah.
We'll put that on the list. We thank you for
Yeah,
bringing that to our
actually, yeah,
attention.
thank you. Appreciate that.
No, thank you. Those are the only comments I have. They're minor. You're doing a great job, clearly, so thank you so much.
Get ready for a white glove inspection. No, it's, I think it's remarkable. I really appreciate what staff do, all our staff that work in the departments to get things done for the city. I know I mentioned earlier this evening there was there a fence line to separate the wetlands there at the south end of Wetlands Edge in Kensington. I think a car went through and knocked down a lot of stuff over there, but it's been repaired, looks a lot better. So I appreciate that. You're talking about slipping on sidewalks, Councilmember Albanamos, the Wetlands Edge Park, the whole length of it. Had some serious issues with the landscaping. Overgrowing it, berries are dropping down on the sidewalk, leaves, it's wet. They did a tremendous job in cutting everything back, and it's looking a lot better. It's a much safer place to walk, and you're not dodging bicycles, trying to dodge trees as you're walking that length. So I appreciate the work. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Mayor and Council. Oh, sure, yeah. How long as I don't have to read anything.
There was all those squares with all those trees. Some of those squares are empty, and some of those trees died.
Oh, you're talking on Teresa, I think.
Yeah.
Yes, the magnolia trees they planted.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
magnolia trees, and I think it would have been much better if they were all filled in.
We'll make sure we'll take a look at that as well. Thank you.
Right, thank you. Any other public comment on this matter? Public comment is open. Please come forward.
Good evening, Mayor, Council, and staff. Kenneth Leary, via Marciana. I want to bring up two things. One, in terms of, let's see, supporting the city and keeping it clean and keeping your drains clean and stuff. If you ever go by my area, you'll see me out there cleaning, taking the leaves up and putting them in my green bin. I know my service is 2 times a month and they come by, but I try to get out there and get the leaves up just so they don't clog things up. So maybe the city should look at creating a adopt a something, adopt a spot, adopt a storm drain, adopt a light pole, you know, and train people to go out and do this stuff. It could be connected with the Citizens Academy. I'm sure a number of people will do that. I used to do that when I lived in Oakland, and I just got out and they gave me a 50-gallon drum of gray paint, and I painted out all the graffiti that hit the freeway underpass. And I think many citizens would like to do that. You get your name up on a sign saying adopted by so-and-so. Yeah, so maybe that would be an idea. So just wanted to throw that at you. And I forgot one thing to announce, and that was this Saturday is the Empty Bowl Lunch. So make sure you go to, what's the church on?
American Canyon Community Church.
Yeah, and
to Andrew.
Get a bowl, and that money goes to the food pantry. All right. What time is it? It's between noon and 2 p.m. All right? All right, thank you.
Thank you. To your point on volunteerism, yeah, there's community organizations as well. Good source for volunteers. We do work like that. I think we just need to examine it from a city perspective to see how we can engage that workforce. Okay, well, thank you for that. Moving on to our agenda, Parks and Recreation Department quarterly update. Stuff is happening.
Stuff's happening, Mr. Mayor. We are busy, busy. I found the button. Is that it? Or I thought it was at the PDF. That is not the button. That's not the button.
Let me help this one out with you.
Hi, Mayor. We have a hand raised.
Yes? Oh, okay. This is for item 16?
I'm not sure.
No, let's find out.
1 second.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi, my name is Marisa Negrete. Yes, this is for item 16.
Okay, thank you. Go ahead, ma'am.
My son, he plays, he's been playing for American Canyon Little League for about now, and now he's fallen in love with the sport, but he is player age 13, and he's been playing on the community park field. Now this will be his 2nd year. And last year what happened was when the fields got so dry at the end of the season and we weren't able to have any home games there. And actually there was a couple of games where there was, we had to stop the game because there was holes in the ground and it became dangerous for the players. So I think that was part of one of Karina's concerns with this field, is not just getting it ready for Little League to play right now, but as the season goes on and it becomes drier, like how, are we maintaining that park to be safe for the kids to play? And that's, to me, it's like when we go to other fields and we see how nice Benicia's fields are at that level, and then when we invite people into our field to play there on Community Park 1, it's kind of, I don't know, just a little embarrassing. And I just feel like when we're bringing people from other cities into our town, we could have a little bit of a nicer place to present for the game that, at these kids, for these kids to keep playing. So I guess that's my question in terms of community park and how it's continuing to be maintained, because they are being used, throughout the years, not just for dogs and not just for practices, but for actual, we're inviting people into our town. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mayor, we have one more speaker, Justin Hamilton Ho.
Okay.
So I think the last speaker was actually talking about item 17, which we haven't addressed yet. So can we just confirm with Justin before?
I think it's item 16 is what she mentioned.
But she's talking about a park, not.
No, it's the park maintenance.
Park maintenance.
That Karina was worried about, and we've got it ready to play, but maybe not fundamentally.
Mr. Hernandez mentioned that briefly in his remarks about the Little League softball field.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor and Council, once again. If you, I do recall, I believe it was the last time that we met, we had a conversation briefly about Little League. What council had directed staff to do was through the city managers that we would meet with Little League. We would talk about these problems, develop some solutions, and then we would come back. I think another piece of that is say user fees, if you will. So I can't speak to Benicia. I don't know what Benicia's user fees are for their Little League, what agreement they have. I do know what ours is. And that's something that we need to revisit. And through those discussions, again, like we were directed before, is to talk about those things. Little League that was my understanding. Get down, get to the table, talk about needs, what we're doing.
That's my recollection of the discussion. Thank you.
Just a quick follow-up on that. Ally's actually been in touch with the Little League. We've got some meetings scheduled in the next couple of weeks as soon as schedules clear up. So meetings haven't happened yet, but they're being scheduled.
All right, thank you for the update. Instead, we had another speaker, Justin Hamilton Hole.
Hi, Justin.
Hi, I am Justin. I am the City American. I have one question. What gonna happen to the old Napa Junction School? That's my question.
I'm happy to.
Your question relates to the old Napa Junction School?
Yeah, I'm happy to respond to that.
Please,
Mayor.
Mr. Hawley.
Hey, Justin, it's Jason Hawley here. Two different things. Part of it's going to be used for maintenance facilities, and then the other part of it is going to be rented out to the community. So the lunchroom and the cafeteria area is going to be available for rental, and we're going to make some upgrades to the kitchen so the kitchen can be used, and then the classrooms are going to be available for the community also, and we're going to have community groups be allowed to rent out some of the spaces as well.
Okay, thank you, Jason.
You're welcome.
Anybody else online?
No more speakers.
Thank you. All right, then we'll move on to item 17. Parks and Recreation Department quarterly update.
Good evening, Council. Alexandra Ikeda with Parks and Recreation Department. Hello, public. I'm here this evening to give you an update within the Parks and Recreation Department from December through, I believe it was March 2022 to December 2022. So as you all are aware, our department is committed to enhancing the quality of life within our community, and we play a significant role in shaping the character and the sense of place here within the community. We strive to meet the needs of our diverse community and with multi-generational program offerings and with services, parks, trails, and open spaces. We promote physical and emotional mental health by encouraging physical fitness and outdoor play. We foster social cohesiveness by celebrating diversity and promoting social equity. We create memorable experiences through our community events and community partners, and we sustain and steward natural resources by protecting habitats and sensitive species within our open spaces. The Parks and Recreation Department is staffed with one full-time interim recreation manager, full-time recreation coordinators, one full-time administrative technician, and one full-time administrative clerk, and various part-time non-benefited staff. Throughout the pandemic, I believe our department has proven that we are an essential function of the city. Since the lifting of the health order in February, our department has been hard at work at bringing back a lot of the programs and services that we were offered pre-pandemic. And tonight, this evening, I would like to discuss.
Excuse me, we're not scrolling through your.
I know, I'm not there yet.
Oh,
I forgot
okay.
to put
All
an
right.
introduction slide. I apologize.
All right. I was looking at my laptop for what you were talking about.
Yes. So, like I mentioned, we have been hard at work since February 2022, trying to bring back a lot of the beloved programs and services that this community really enjoyed pre-pandemic. And I'm here this evening to talk about those efforts. So summary, we'll talk about program registration, community volunteer opportunities, community nonprofit organizations and partners, and community sports organizations, our fiscal year 22-23 projects, and looking forward. So since March through December, we actually transitioned our registration software. We used to be with ActiveNet, which I will tell you from working in other organizations, ActiveNet can be very clunky. It could be very difficult forward-facing with the public. And right when I was coming on board, the city made a great investment by going with CivicRec. It is a great application which allows us to do a lot of things online, as well as over the phone and in person. But the registration process as a user myself, where I've registered my family for programs, is very simple and easy. So far we have 5,473 CivicRec users. We have processed about 6,300 registrations. We've processed 289 group picnic reservations, which are predominantly reserved online through that application. We've processed 5 indoor facility rentals, and we've processed 844 cancellations and refunds. We have then taken that 6,300 registrations, we broke it down into the areas so you can see where the areas of interest are and where those programs are, where that registration is occurring. Community opportunities. So we have offered over 8 volunteer opportunities throughout the city. It's really important that we really connect with our nonprofits, our community members, and we foster that love for the city and really how can we drive a lot of change and make some very impressive improvements. Through those 8 volunteer opportunities, we've had about 137 volunteers and 660 hours. Here, that is from February through December. And some of those volunteer opportunities included Coastal Cleanup Day, the Ridge Trail Day that we had in November, and then Earth Day, and then the Wetlands Edge Cleanup, and then we also did some bird boxes this year too. Our department, or our city, I should say, is very unique. Our department works specifically with over 21 nonprofit and community organizations, where we really pride ourselves on those partnerships. Those organizations foster civic engagement and leadership and provide educational, recreational, and cultural and social services that are needed and valued by our community. A lot of this community organization partners, it really truly is a partnership with the city and these organizations. We really want to make sure or help make sure their events or their programs or classes are successful. And most of the time it's not monetary value that the city is supporting. Sometimes it's city staff, sometimes it's resources like tables and chairs, or sometimes it's just lending a facility for them to host a cultural event. So some of our nonprofit partners include AC Pride. We have the Kiwanis Food Distribution, AC Arts Foundation, the AC Parks and Community Services, Boys and Girls Club, and the list continues. But again, without their support, we would not be able to get a lot of these things done. We talk a lot about the community events that we do, the cultural events, and a lot of those are put on by our community nonprofits. Like we have one coming up in March, the Holly Festival, the Color Festival. Those type of events are really unique and special to this community because it really showcases the cultural diversity that we have here in this community. Community sports organizations. So our community sports organizations play a significant role within our department and community. Although we provide a wide variety of sports and recreational programs, these organizations provide an advanced competitive sport option to the participants that they serve. The city values these partnerships as they promote high quality sports leagues within our community, teach sportsmanship and teamwork, and they help form meaningful relationships and community bonds. Our support and involvement with these organizations are minimal. However, the city resources that are allocated to support these provide great value to their organization. Just from February to December, we've provided about 3,700 hours in free rental space to our youth organizations. That would include AC Youth Football, AC Youth Soccer, AC Little League, and then the Bocce Ball League as well. And that is an adult program. Projects. I know we talked a lot about projects, and I just wanted to remind you that we are still moving forward with the playground replacement project that's including Northampton Park, Linwood Park, and Via Bellagio Park. That equipment has been ordered, like Jason mentioned. We're anticipated to get it around May, June of this year. And then we have the skateboard park relocation project, which is going to be happening at Veterans Park. And then we also have the Wetlands Edge Enhancement Project, and that's going to be the outdoor education center with a park at the wetlands, a permanent park restroom, excuse me. So what's coming up? Quite a lot of things. We're currently working on our summer recruitment. Our summer starts for us in June 20th to be exact. We are potentially hiring 43 additional temporary part-time staff, and that is to accommodate the programming offerings that we're going to be offering this summer. We do plan to bring back our youth summer camp. That was a beloved program that we had before the pandemic, and we received a lot of interest last summer, and we've heard that feedback, and we're going to be bringing that back. And that will be housed at the former Napa Junction school site. That will be used as our camp location. 15 of those positions are lifeguards and swim instructors. We like to have a staff around 31 to 32 staff, and that helps with the lifeguarding of recreation swim, pool rentals, our swim lesson program. And then we're also looking at bringing on 2 program coordinators, and those are more of your senior staff that are going to help the lower level staff and oversee the day-to-day operations. Summer registration, we are going to be having a Rec Expo week, and that is going to be for American Canyon residents only, and it's going to expected to start on April 17th and go through the 23rd, and the non-resident registration takes place on the 24th. We're excited because we're actually bringing back a printed activity guide that's going to be mailed to all the households this year. So we are currently working very hard on that and getting that into production and print. And we are in that process of working with the designer and pulling that information out of our system and getting it to the printer. Upcoming volunteer opportunities. On the 25th, we have a Wetlands Edge Preserve cleanup and planting. On the 18th, March 18th, we have a community garden cleanup day. That cleanup day is specifically for our community gardener participants, for them to come down and participate in beautifying not only their plot space, but also just the surrounding area. We started that last year. We got great feedback. They really enjoyed it, and so we're going to continue that because we just felt it was a great way for them to meet their neighbors and to connect. Some of our gardeners have limitations to the type of gardening that they can do, and this gives them an opportunity to partner and introduce themselves and make new friends. On April 8th, we have a Newell Trail Cleanup Day. And then on April 22nd is Earth Day. That is going to be in partnership with ACCPF down at the wetlands. ACCPF is going to be offering more of like a hands-on educational experience, and then we're going to be doing the volunteer project side by side. And then upcoming community events. We are a busy community. We have a lot, and this is where it kind of snapshots and shows you our department may not be the leader in it, but there is some sort of element where we are involved. So on March 12th, we have the Festival of Colors at Com Park 2. On May 20th, we have the Bike Bash at Donaldson Way, which in the parking lot, and that's where we partner with Napa Bike Coalition, and they come down and we teach kids and adults bike safety, and then we take them on a bike and how to teach them how to ride in the streets. And then on May 29th, we have our Memorial Day partnership with the VFW Lions and Troop Support, and that's at Veterans Park. And then to be determined, we are anticipating doing AC Pride again and Juneteenth. And then July 4th celebration. And then we have, with PD, we have National Night Out. And then on the 5th, we're planning around a water carnival day. That's a fun come down and play where we have an enhanced public swim experience. And on the 12th, we have our s'mores and meteors event. Thank you so much for your time this evening, and I am here to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you for the report. Wow, the update. Very busy. A lot of really cool stuff
We're not
happening.
doing anything down in Parks and Rec.
It's pretty amazing to me just how much gets accomplished and the positive energy that's you and your whole department bring to American Canyon with that. So, but thank you for that. Certainly, the council thanks you for that. Just going to be having done Holy every year. It's loads of fun, but one of the things I do recommend that you have an old sheet to put in your car seat. Just kind of pass the word on that, because you're going to take the color home with you. It's powdered paint. It's water soluble. Wear white because it really shows up bright, and it almost washes out. So mine is go to Goodwill and find something cheap to wear. With that, Councilmember Joseph.
Yes, thank you for the report. You guys are doing a whole bunch of stuff. I noticed on the s'mores and meteors, last year there was some issues. So how do you plan on implementing that one this next year or whenever in August?
Yeah, so last year was unique. That is a unique program. We do hire additional staff to support the types of activities that are provided out there that are staff-led. And so we did make the decision to charge a minimal fee to help cover a portion of that cost. It was a minimal fee of, I believe, $6 per participant. We still saw a very good turnout for that type of event. We plan to continue that because the amount of staff that we do have out there, although it's a minimal fee, it doesn't cover the entire cost of what we're doing, but it does add value to what we're doing. So we are planning to continue that. We charge for the water carnival. We charge for all the other specialty type activities that we do, like the Nerf battle and the things like that. And again, we try to keep our fees fair and equitable and competitive with surrounding areas. And that was a rate that we felt that we were comfortable with to be able to, for the type of experience that we were providing to the community.
Okay. Well, maybe it's just my OCD thing, but $6 just, I mean, I would either say 5 or 10, but that's just me on charging. Yeah, it was a free service, and I think part of the problem is when you have a free service and then suddenly you charge it, the public wasn't ready for that. And so hopefully there'll be some better communications or prep work on that one. Thank you.
Thank you.
Councilmember Albadamos.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you, Ali, for that presentation. Just to piggyback off of what Councilmember Joseph said, I think that person was also upset because there were several members of the family that went, so I don't know if we can also, like, $6 per person, that's fine, but maybe we can also do like a family rate, so if you get like a family of 10, they're not discouraged, you know what I mean?
Agreed.
I just had a quick question. A while ago, I think Jen posted on social media all of the various job openings in the city, and the rec leader positions were there. Somebody reached out to me and asked me how old they have to be in order to become rec leaders. When I was a rec leader, I was allowed to join at 15 and a half with a work permit from school. Is that still the same policy, or has that changed? Because that's the advice I gave.
Yeah, it is. They do need to have a work permit if they're under the age of 18, and their work permit is going to dictate how many hours they can work in a week. We are looking for all different types of ages for the summer work. We are encouraging the youth of this community to apply. It's a great opportunity for them to learn, good work ethic, and to hopefully grow up to be Parks and Recreation professionals, and get to do all the fun and exciting work that a lot of us get to do in our department. So 15 and a half is, I believe, is what we have on the application. For lifeguards, to be a lifeguard, they do need to be 15 and a half by the end of the lifeguard training class, and that's a certification requirement.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. You mentioned the community garden. I just wanted to add one of the benefits of that, particularly during COVID, was it's a great mental health day. You can go outside and be productive at something and feel like you've accomplished something. We've had a number of people I've had a plot there for many years, so we invited others to come over. But come on down. It's, well, you know, you see what's planted in the ground, you see the diversity of the city, everything that people take home and eat and share. My God, yes, we share a lot. Thank you very much. Any other comment from council? Ready for public comment? Public wanting to comment on this? Anybody? If not,
We have
please.
one hand raised.
We don't have an age limit. We're actually looking for older rec leaders that have driver's license so they could be able to drive, because we're bringing back our facility rentals, and the idea is to have the staff to be able to go from site to site. I encourage you to apply.
All right, you got a job there, Ken. Wow. Any online?
Justin Hamilton Ho.
Okay, very good. Hello, Justin.
Hello. I have a quick question. I know it's like 2-year COVID was hit. Are you gonna bring back regular life? Regular life did where people walk around on the sidewalk at the park. A regular life.
Relay for Life.
Relay for Life. Huh.
Relay for Life, I believe, is through an outside organization, and I believe it was being held in Napa last year in partnership with Benicia. But we absolutely would support that organization if they wanted to do something here. I would encourage them to reach out to us if that is the case.
Thank you.
We do have trips. I encourage you to go online and take a look. They actually went to, where did they go? They went to Apple Hill back in the fall, and I believe that they had a couple other opportunities. They wanted to go to a San Francisco Giants game, and then they also had the Van Gogh van to go see an art exhibit. So there are many opportunities.
Any other comment? Anybody
There
else
are
on?
no more comments.
Very good, okay. Anybody from the public? Last opportunity. Seeing none, we close public comment. And thank you for the update. Moving on in our agenda, management staff oral reports. Mr. Hawley.
I have a quick update, and I don't know if others have. All right, looks like Ali has a follow-up update as well, if there's anyone else. Was mentioned earlier, and follow-up from our last council meeting, the notion of a community workshop related to the Vallejo Broadway project. We've set the date to do that. It's going to be on Saturday, March 4th at 10 a.m. It's going to be actually at, thank you, related to the Vallejo Broadway project. We're going to be having a community workshop Saturday, March 10th at 10 a.m. It's going to be at the pavilion there next to the playground, next to the dog park, next to the Vallejo Broadway project. So I will be there. We're inviting elected officials from the city of Vallejo and staff from the city of Vallejo to try and explain what that project is and give more information. At this point, I don't believe anyone from the city of Vallejo will be there, but that could change between now and then. But I will be there doing my best to explain what we know about the project, and the public is encouraged to attend that meeting and try and learn more. That's again Saturday, March 4th at 10 a.m. That's all I had, Mayor, but I believe Ali has an update.
Thank you. Let me get this down. Okay, if nothing further, we'll move on in our agenda. We have mayor and council comments, committee reports, and after that, we'll do any future agenda items. Oh,
Sorry, Mayor, I do have a couple updates.
Yes, you do. Thank you.
So I'm here to tell you what's going on over the next 2 weeks here in American Canyon.
Okay.
So on February 7th, we have a free tax help at the library, and it's going through April, and it's on Tuesdays and Fridays from 1 to 4:30. On February 11th, we have a CAT Fostering 101 class that is at the Adult Activity Center from 10 a.m. to 11:30 a.m., and that's hosted by the American Canyon Community Cats group. You are required to register, but that's go on our website and register for that program. It's free to participate. On February 11th, we have the Wetlands Coffee Morning with the American Canyon Community and Parks Foundation, and that's going to be from 10 a.m. to 11:30 a.m. And then on February 11th, we have the Napa Valley Black History Month celebration at the Crosswalk Community Church from 2 p.m. to 5 p.m. And I encourage everybody to attend that. And then on February 12th and 13th, we have the Napa Valley Chamber Orchestra concert. On the 12th, that starts at 1:30, and it's going to be at the Congregation of Beth Shalom. And on February 13th, it's at 7 p.m., and it's at the Open Door Christian Church. And then on February 20th, city offices will be closed as a reminder. And then on the 24th, we have the American Canyon Chamber Casino Night and Annual Awards. That's going to be from 5 p.m. to 9 p.m. at Eagle Vines Golf Club. Tickets are still available for purchase. And last thing, don't miss out on the beautiful art at the Wetlands and Newell. ACCPF is hosting, again, Heart Your Parks for the whole month of February. All the hearts have been installed. They're absolutely gorgeous and beautiful. And I encourage you to go out there and take a look at what those artists were able to do. Thank you.
Thank you for the calendar update. That's on the city community events.
Yes, all of these are on the city community calendar, and direct links to each of those events with registration information.
Thank you. Thank you. That makes it very easy.
You're welcome.
Mr. Mayor, just really quick, the Broadway project, Jason, Saturday, March 11th.
No, March 4th. Saturday, March 4th.
Okay, great. Thank you.
March 4th.
You go there, and then later on that evening, you go to the crab feed. Just so your day is booked.
Link to the tickets also on the city's website for Crab Feed?
I don't know if they're on the city's website, but we can get you the link. We'll take care of you. They should be going out even as we speak.
Okay, very good. Now we're on to mayor, council comments, committee reports, and then future agenda items. Thank you for your committee report. Councilmember Joseph, anything further to add?
Yes, I wanted to make a couple of quick announcements. Number one, I wanted to remind everybody that tomorrow, Wednesday, at 2:40 p.m. at the high school, they're having a school rally for climate action, and we encourage you all to be there. The public is also encouraged, so be there or not. Secondly, I wanted to do a shout out, I'm assuming, to our new finance director, because the transparency portal is now up to date, at least through December. I was about to, now I get to crunch numbers in the privacy of my own home, so thank you for that. I then had a question rescheduling the Green Island undergrounding project. Do we, even if we don't have anything, do we have something, are we starting that project? So
we are, well, I don't know if you want to come up, Erica, and give some information. We are looking at rescheduling the groundbreaking event. We don't have a date picked yet for that. The contractor is starting to mobilize their equipment either this week or next week, and so you'll start to see a little bit of activity out there. So we have a series of State of the City events coming up in the latter half of this month, and so this groundbreaking is probably going to have to be after that, because I don't think our schedule is going to be able to smash it all in, but early part of March is my guess.
I mean, to be honest, I'd rather see the contractor start and we can do the ceremonial thing at any point in time, but so the sooner that company can get out there, the better. And then the last thing is kind of like a future agenda item. I was at the traffic calming workshop, and we had decent turnout, so that was good. It was a good discussion. And the only thing I'd like to say, I know it's kind of come back for council action, and I'd just like to suggest, in terms of revamping our traffic calming program, that it might be a good idea to bring the concept, bring it to the council for general discussion, and then craft the nuts and bolts instead of doing it the other way around. I think you're going to get a lot of public input, good, bad, and otherwise. You'll get some input from us. I just think we need to look at a process that balances all the equities. I mean, everybody wants everything done, but there's a cost, so how do you juggle costs and priorities and so on? So I'm just asking that before we come forward with a formal action, we have like a little
policy workshop, if you will, on the topic. Just a suggestion. And that's all I had, other than to say it's very informative tonight, and a lot of good stuff talked about tonight. So I'm glad. Thank you.
Okay. Councilmember Oro?
Yeah, thank you. Just two quick things. The Napa Tourism Board held a mixer last week, I think it was, and several elected showed up as well as staff. As part of the tourism board, I felt obligated to attend, and then I realized that, oh, I'm glad I attended. It was a lot of wine and food, right? And so it's really nice to go to those things and hang out. But we got to talk to a few people there. I would encourage members to do that. I think they're going to do that now annually, once a year. It's really just a mixer event, and I asked why they're doing it, and it's because they don't see others bringing together the hospitality industry with the local electeds. So if you want to meet a lot of people in the hospitality industry, with some, as well as your elected officials and colleagues, it almost felt like a mini Nick Log without any agenda items for the most part. So,
Yeah, unfortunately, Vice Mayor Washington and I had a schedule with the residency people, because that was set up, and then I saw the invite and thought, shoot.
Well, you should have done what I did. I moved my residency meeting because of that.
Probably should have. Yeah, I mean, because having been on that committee, I knew there would be good refreshments. Whereas I think we may have only gotten water out of our meeting. So,
well,
I regret missing it.
Councilmember Oro had that news up ahead of time. I would have been there.
Yeah.
Well,
and you know,
for
and since Councilmember Joseph kind of talked about kind of future agenda items, just want to make note. I got an email today, and I already passed it on to the city manager, but I want to do it for the public record. For a future agenda item, Older Americans Month is in May. We would love to have a proclamation. We've identified a person to receive it. So,
all right, very good. Thank you. Yeah, Older American Month in May. Councilmember Washington. I'm sorry, Vice Mayor Washington.
Probably me first.
Okay, I'm just going down the line, but if you want to go next, go ahead.
Just because he's vice mayor now. Sure, I'll go. I had a LAFCO meeting on Monday, and I was appointed to the Legislative Advisory Committee. So that's the body that reviews proposed legislation to the state, and then we, if it's affecting the LAFCOs, we talk amongst ourselves and figure out what position we're going to take, and then we recommend it to the entire board. So,
okay,
super excited about that. And then are we doing future agenda items, or
no,
or did they just go out of order?
We're doing the reports first, then the future agenda.
I know, but they, Councilmember Oro and Councilmember Joseph kind of included their future agenda items. So, would you like me to wait?
It's up to you.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Just real quick, I've already talked to Chief Greenberg about this, but I would like the council to consider gun-safe ordinances, and basically, I think Calistoga and Napa have already adopted them, and it's just about safely storing your firearms. There's laws about it, but there is no enforcement mechanism. So, I'd like to give our. Why are you looking at me like that? Am I saying this wrong? I'd like to give our law enforcement some teeth in terms of enforcing. And then Chief Greenberg and I actually talked about a really cool idea. Maybe I should have touched base with you before putting you on blast like this, but maybe starting to give out like cool things such as like gun locks at various events. Oh, thank you. He gave me a thumbs up, so we're good. And that could promote awareness to the ordinances, but also, help in the safe storage of firearms. So I hope you guys are agreeable to that.
Yeah.
We
can take that up.
In that regard, I think Councilperson Ann Chateau from St. Helena also reached out and made a pitch that I didn't get back to her. So I'm interested in hearing it. I know there'll be a lot of robust discussion on both sides of the fence, but it's worth a consideration.
Thank you.
That's it?
That's it. Thank you.
Vice Mayor Washington.
Yeah, the only two things I have, one is for our finance director. I want to say I looked at that email you sent earlier today with the graphs and things like that from a financial standpoint. I finally understand what's going on with the finances because he broke it down in a way that I could interpret. So thank you. Secondly, The last time we had the joint special meeting, I don't know if we actually put it for a future agenda about opportunities with Airbnb. I just wanted to make sure that we put it on record for an agenda item for future items. So, and that's all I have.
All right. Thank you. Well, I did attend the workshop on feral cats. It was a great presentation, very informative. There was a lot of detail, and I had learned something from, I didn't realize that feral cats form colonies and they're very territorial. So membership to the club is by invitation only is the way I would characterize it. So the presenter mentioned, and those from attendees mentioned spay and neutering cats in a colony reduce, of course, population growth. But if you remove them, then it's open turf, and then you can experience larger accumulation of cats. And I see a disagreement, but this was what they presented. So that's what I learned. It was it's well intended, and I thought there was very productive work being accomplished there. Traffic calming also was a lot of input from the community. I would think to add on to Councilmember Joseph's comment, I'd like to see a lot more representation from other areas of the city, that type of a conversation, what's going on. You know, well, the people who attended were certainly very, spoke very strongly about their concerns for their neighborhood. But it was just not a very broad spectrum of American Canyon. And I think more outreach there to get more folks, say, for example, from the east side, who I hear a lot about people going too fast. Had an opportunity to discuss gun safety with Chief Greenberg. St. Helena, I understand, is doing, moving forward with trying to require gun safes. Now, if you want to see one, you go over here to Tractor Supply. See one of those panels in that double door? They're almost that size. They're very big, very heavy. Actually, coincidentally, as I was getting ready to go catch up with him, went by Tractor Supply. Somebody's moving out of the building with a gun safe, with about 4 people trying to move it. But he did talk about gun locks and a cable lock that goes through the firing chamber and the barrel, whichever works better, pistol or rifle. Much cheaper type of thing, and can be secured. I mean, in the terms that nobody who picks it up can load it and fire it without removing that component. So that was very good. I would underscore your thoughts on that, Councilmember Abdamos. North Bay Watershed, very good presentation on Sonoma County and their water. It's like we have one here on drought. Critical drought levels in for Napa County. This was their whole water system from the whole Russian River and the Eel River, which is actually, they can transport water over into the Russian River on it. And being able to increase their water capacity and their storage areas by how they manage it and improvements they can make. And they were very encouraged. I think, as I recall, Sonoma Reservoir is about 70% full right now, so the water's still flowing. To that note, for the statewide watershed, some news I've been following of late says snowpack is, what did they say on the news today? We're at over 200% of rainfall. So if it continues, we're going to have full reservoirs all over the place. And that's an encouraging note for us. Really appreciate everything city and staff are doing with our water conservation. And there's been several opportunities I've had, even at North Bay Watershed, to talk about our free home recycled water delivery, and people are going, wow, how do you do that? And I say, well, we're very creative here. I think it was 470 some odd clients, customers, and about 10 acre-feet of water, and that makes a difference. That would conclude my report. Anything from other council members on future agenda items? No?
Although I would like to ratify the gun safety ordinance discussion and the Airbnb at some point. Just FYI.
Okay. Oh, certainly. That's all right. Yeah, you're exempt.
I've seen a lot of, some coyotes.
Huh?
And they were over by my place. There was some one over the hill. There was a pack one night about a month ago.
Yeah.
And then there was one just 2 days ago down the middle of the road that went across the field. So I wonder if anybody else, what do you do with coyotes? Are they dangerous?
They're not good for eating, I bet.
Well, having grown up in a desert area where there are a lot of them, sadly, what they do is they go after any animal, domestic animals.
My son
Yeah.
called me, says, make sure the cat's in the house.
Yeah.
Because I just
Right.
passed a coyote on the middle of the road going down.
That's right.
Yeah.
The ones that survived where I lived were the ones that could get up on the roof. Coyotes can't get to them, but yeah, they run in packs, and one of their maneuvers is they'll go out at night and make a lot of noise, and a dog that's not chained up will go chasing after him, and the coyote runs back to the pack, and there's dinner. Yeah, so.
One time there was a cat.
Yeah.
And you could hear them. They were howling.
Yeah. Yes. Well. Yeah. No, they generally stay away from people. Anything further?
I want to add to Miriam's report on LAFCO, me being the public member. I
Okay.
think this is an important, 3 new commissioners were sworn in on Monday.
Very good.
Ann Cattell, Joe Gallagher, and Belia Ramos. That puts 3 American Canyon residents on LAFCO.
Oh, right.
So those 3 members are all county members, the 2 county members and the 1 alternate, because Diane and Brad retired.
Yes,
And like Ken said, that's 3 American Canyon members on LAFCO now.
that's right.
Good thing.
Sorry. Thank you for adding to that.
Okay, well, council, if we have concluded our business for the evening, you see future agenda items of note on item 19. And we are at this point adjourned. Thank you all.
Good night, American Canyon.
Free.
We got plenty of pictures of them in it, so.